Hello and welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott and I'm joined by Dan. And of course, it's a big day, not only a big day, but a big weekend in pro wrestling. But today it's going to be WWE focused, of course, and we're talking all things Night of Champions. We're here to get yourself and ourselves in the mood for the big PLE right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, so once again, welcome to the channel. I'm Scott. This one over here is Dan. Dan, how you feeling, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Yeah, it's a nice change that I'm actually available to do one of these. Obviously, don't normally fall around my bedtime at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I've normally been asleep for about 2 or 3 hours by then. But yeah, it's actually nice to be able to actually talk a bit of wrestling before a show and at a reasonable time. So
exactly that. You know, every time we have a Saudi show, we mention this, and it's a good time for us to do these kind of streams. And you know, not only that, the Americans, you know, they're watching this about like early in the afternoon, so it must be an interesting kind of experience for them as well. Of course, we're here for the build-up show. You haven't seen one of our build-up shows before. As I said earlier on, it's about getting ourselves and yourselves in the mood for the show itself. We rarely do watch-alongs, but because it is at a reasonable hour, we will be doing a watch-along today as well. And, of course, our instant reaction straight after the PLE as well. So stick right here for full coverage throughout the day. But also, not only that, we've got some special guests joining us as well from some of our kind of friends channels within the wrestling media landscape as well. And we're bringing in our first guest in just a moment. Also got Sludge Sports here in the comments saying hello. Sludge, thank you very much, mate, for coming back. Really do appreciate every time you join us on the stream here. And anyone that is watching, whether live or on demand, please let us know what you're thinking about the current wrestling kind of landscape, really. Of course, I know mostly this stream is about getting us in the mood for the next kind of couple of hours ahead, few hours ahead even. But I know people do watch this on demand as well, because we do go quite in depth on kind of random topics, which I'm sure we'll do throughout today as well. So what I'm going to do now, first of all, is bring in our first special guest. You'll know him from the Give Me a Whole Year podcast. Been on here a few times. Sorry, he's been on here once, I should say, but hopefully now leaning into a few times. And I've been on his channel a few times as well. And of course, this is Sam Smith, also of WrestleSphere. Sam, how you doing, mate?
I'm just surprised. It's daytime, and
I know it's unbelievable.
I know, right?
Bizarre, isn't it? Normally it's all dark. I've got my little lamp on. I've got my cup of coffee. Today I'm like, I want a beer and a sunbathe. It's nuts. Excited. It's. I said last night. It's a smorgasbord of wrestling this weekend. So it's
lovely word.
Yeah, it's great. It's like buffet, but posh, isn't it? I think that posh and Scandinavian. But yeah, I'm super excited. We've got obviously the pre-show coming up in a bit. Once we've done this as well, I might be a little bit tipsy by the end of the PLE. That's the plan. At least we're not paying WrestleMania prices this time, so that's good news.
There we go.
Super into it.
Well, how much was it? How much was it, by the way, the WrestleMania beers when you were there?
Well, I didn't look at the exact
you
price
just tapped your card.
Well, what I did is me and Dan went into the shop, me and Dan Hargreaves, and we got a couple of beers each, like, I don't know, 4 cans of Stone Cold's, you know, special beer.
Yeah.
Like a bag of Cheetos and something else, and the entire thing came to $60. And I was like, what?
Whoa.
What?
That should be import prices, mate. That's what I'd expect to get Steve Austin's beer over here. What was the beer like, by the way? Because I've been.
It was nice.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. The issue was, it's just, you know, like, we were screwed that first night. We just had to either not have a beer, which we're not going to do, or you know, or pay it. So. Yeah. Second night, though, we, Anthony Nayland had the idea of, let's just buy a load of really, really super strength beer. It was kind of like Brewdog stuff. We drank that outside the stadium, got absolutely steaming, went into the second night.
Okay,
And
a bit
I was
bit
off
of
my head.
pre-drinking. Gotcha.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Gotcha.
It was so good.
Well, thanks for updating us on the beer goings on in LA. You know, I know what it's like to be trapped in a venue and have to pay their prices, so fully appreciate that. And but today we are trapped in this stream talking all things Night of Champions, of course. And like you say, you alluded to it there. We had a bit of a chat about this last night. Firstly on Andrew Sports' channel, he's going to be joining us later on, of course, of Wrestling Royalty. But also in Give Me a Whole Year, we had a SmackDown watch along as well. And I do want to give a little bit of shout out to you boys early on. Of course, you're going to be doing a watch along later on, and we joked about it last night. It might have to be a simulcast here for a few of us, but either way, very much appreciate having you on, Sam. We're going to get to well, Slushbot says here is Sheamus versus Theory on the card. Well, we saw that last night, didn't we? We were discussing how strange it was that it wasn't. I haven't heard anything since that it's kind of going to be a rematch, but that did end in shenanigans. So I wouldn't be surprised if this does kind of get bumped up, and that would kind of, you know, defeat some of the points we made yesterday about kind of the confusion about it being not having all the titles on the line. Of course, like we said, the WWE Universal Undisputed dangled fancy belts aren't on the line either, but at least we are getting Roman Reigns himself. So we did our prediction and preview episode a few days ago, of course, and at the time of recording, we didn't actually have two of the matches in the books. So what we're going to do in a moment is start on those ones. Mine and Dan's predictions are locked in for our table as well, so we can't change it anyway. But when we do go through the matches that we've already predicted, we'll just kind of discuss whether or not we would have changed in hindsight after, you know, a week with the go-home shows. Of course, we can't. They're locked in. And again, predict the two we haven't done already. But this is our predictions table so far. Of course, we've only had one round so far, but it runs seasonally here on this channel, kind of WrestleMania to WrestleMania. And at the moment, I'm creeping just at the top with one extra point, trying to get my title back from Dan, of course, who won it last year. So without further ado, we'll get into some of the matches we've already spoken about, but it'd be interesting to kind of hear your thoughts on these, of course, as well, Sam. Firstly, let's talk about well, let's talk about, I think, Mustafa Ali versus Gunther, because just before we came on the air, Dan, you had a few kind of interesting points that you were making, that you've heard a few rumors around this one. So should we start with you first, Dan, as far as Gunther and Ali? Of course, we've already predicted this. I think we all went for Gunther, right?
Let me just grab the table up. Yeah,
I'd be very shocked if we didn't. But
yeah, everyone's gone Gunther for this one. I think it's like the standard across the board. Everyone is assuming that he's breaking Honky Tonk Man's record now. But yeah, obviously rumors are that Ali is going to get like attacked, and then Riddle's going to take his place for this one.
Very strange.
So, and if that happens, then, you know, my prediction wouldn't change. It just means that Riddle's going to get the ever-loving out of him rather than Ali, I guess. But yeah, another interesting note as well about the show is that at the moment, the rumor is that Seth and AJ is going on first because Seth has to catch a flight to get back to the States because of filming commitments. So
I don't know if I buy that.
It looks like that could well be opening the show. So
I really would hate if it does. We'll get into that match in a moment, of course, as well. A quick comment here from Sludge saying, I'm saying Mustafa Ali should win because there should be a World Heavyweight title division and Gunther should be in that division. Ali wins in his country. So it's not Ali's country, but I get where you're coming from as far as that part of the world. I said it on our stream the other day and again last night as well. That I do think, you know, he's in this spot as a representation of Asia. And that's great, but I think it's going to be a great moment for him. But I don't see him as being that person to do it. But I do get your point, Sludge, about you know, Gunther moving in. I think that will happen eventually. I just don't think we're there yet. This kind of rumor of Riddle, when you first told me off air, Dan, I was thinking it was you were going to say LA Knight because there are rumors that they're going to squeeze him onto the apparently squeeze him onto the card, which I could have seen. But then again, maybe that would be a bad decision, kind of hastily doing that for him to only get beat anyway. So, Sam, what do you think about this? No Mansoor,
Mansoor, sorry.
Yeah, and they're in a pretty kind of, you know, deep program as well. So quite interesting.
Literally they could have chucked the Maximum Male Models on with like Alpha Academy, just as like
yeah, maybe it'd be a pre-show
like
thing or something like that. Of course, pre-show will be starting in a few hours as well. We'll try and keep you company for that. But Sam, what are you thinking as far as this match goes itself? If it does go ahead, but then also the rumors of Matt Riddle potentially taking his place.
See, I've seen those rumors on Twitter. Is anybody reputable saying them though? Anybody who's usually right about this stuff? Anyone like? Because like, no. Well, I mean.
By that logic, then no.
I need another source,
like a Sean Ross Sapp or something like that. Yeah.
Before I go to press with this, I'd want another source. I really, you know what I mean. And like with the whole it being his country thing, shades of people thinking McIntyre was in his country at Clash at the Castle or his hometown. No, mate, it's not even in the same country.
Somewhat.
Yeah, I mean,
we are a union, but
yeah,
it'll be like Becky taking like Becky doing something over here when we do when they do Money in the Bank, it'll be like, oh, it's a hometown hero.
Oh, it does my head in. It's like it's a political union, but it's a different country within a country. And because Ali is an American of Indian descent, so he's not from Saudi Arabia, but he's an Asian gentleman. He's a Muslim, and he wants their representation and good. Now, here's what I'll say. Now, these Saudi Arabia shows, they do often like to suck up to the crowd a little bit, because let's not forget, before they turned him heel and made him a maximum male model, if Mansoor was ever on the card, he always won. No matter, he could have been up against the Terminator, he could have been up against Brock Lesnar, he's winning clean. So maybe they'll do that with Ali, but I think it would be incredibly dishonest of WWE if they were to just swap out Mustafa Ali with Riddle. Does anyone really want to see that? I think they'd annoy a lot of people, including me. I actually want to see Mustafa Ali have a really good match against Gunther, but come up short, because I'm of the belief that Mustafa Ali is the future as well. Gunther is the immediate future. Gunther is a star. That belt, I don't want him to lose it until at least WrestleMania. Keep it on him for longer. Let's turn this guy into a massive star. Because it can be done. He's a once-in-a-lifetime guy, but we can still make a star out of Ali looking powerful in defeat. That is what I would like to see, not bloody Vince McMahon-style shenanigans of backstage beatings and someone miraculously taking their place. I'm so over that stuff now. I really am.
And this is the thing. I think the Saudi crowd, for the points kind of mentioned, are going to be ready to cheer on Mustafa Ali, so it would be a real shame to kind of do this little swerve here. Sludgeball says Gunther Riddle would have been a good match. I agree. I think they would put on a good match. I think it's kind of strange that Riddle isn't kind of in a prominent position on this show, or any sort of position as things stand. But this isn't the one where you want to take someone out. This reminds me, as you say, Sam, of this kind of wild booking that we've had in the past where they've done stuff like this and it's been a real disappointment. This one, surely the whole point of this match is to have an Asian representation on this card in a good spot, and that's not me saying it's a kind of virtue signaling, as these people try and say. This is a straight up he deserves to be in this spot, just like Zelina Vega made sense to put her in that spot in
exactly
Puerto Rico as well. So it's it would be a real shame if they took Ali out of this, because I think he's been dealt a crappy hand quite a lot, and he always tries to make something of it, and I think what he's doing at the moment is quite good as well. So we'll see where it goes. Hopefully
people
we do
get
the advertised. Go.
Oh, sorry, Scott. Sorry, mate. I thought you were done. No. People are saying on Twitter it's a box ticking exercise with Ali, and it's not at all. It's just giving a wrestler an opportunity somewhere it makes sense for them to have an opportunity, just like Zelina. And sorry, I wasn't suggesting you're not a reputable source earlier. I was.
Trust me, he's not.
I was more suggesting the origin to me smells a bit fishy. The origin of this rumor. Because like me and Andy Spores will tell you, we've got absolutely no time for dirt sheet crap these days, unless it's logical and comes from a sound source. Until then, until it comes out on a press release or it happens in front of me, it's BS as far as I'm concerned with this stuff.
You got.
I'm popping fisherman friends because I've got a sore throat. So
hey, nice.
It was funny though on Raw. Brock Lesnar, when he's walking out to the ring and just turns to Ali, he's like, Get a life, kid.
Oh, that was brilliant. Yeah, I popped so loud for that. It was amazing.
I think it's like a story like that's years in the making. Because obviously the whole thing with Money in the Bank and then this, it's like you just want to see Ali just punch him in the face.
This is where I think it might be going. I got to be honest. I think it might be leading towards Ali and Brock Lesnar. I just think they've teased that right there. And again, like you say, down that history of the Money in the Bank. People talk about it still to this very day.
Mind you, though, I reckon Brock probably just did that off his own back. You know, he's probably just like joking about.
Yeah. But it was cool. It was a funny moment. So
yeah,
they could put on a classic if it looked like even acknowledging him on live TV the way Brock did, like that, saying "Get a life, kid." Like even that is a rub from Brock from Brock Lesnar. It is. It really is. For him to even agree to do that on TV. It means Brock would care, because if Brock doesn't care, you get a crap match. If Brock does care, you get something pretty good, pretty entertaining. And he puts on his best work with the guys who dance around him and chop him down. He like Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Bryan Danielson, who else? Seth Rollins. So Mustafa Ali, like we never got that with Kofi Kingston when we should have. But let's also not forget Kofi Kingston sort of, bless him, hijacked Mustafa Ali's spot when they were in the Elimination Chamber. Like Kofi Mania happened because Mustafa Ali got injured. So Ali is owed, and I want to see him collect. I really do.
Definitely, yeah. I don't think tonight's the night as far as collecting on a title, but I do think a prominent position is kind of something that he deserves in coming months. So hopefully we do get there with Mustafa Ali. And again, hopefully that is the match that we see. I say tonight is barely going to be leaving the evening. So that's again quite exciting for us over here. We've got Rob to send in his final predictions as well, haven't we? So
well I've got both Rob's and Lucas's now anyway for the final two matches. So
all right, so we'll start getting into some of those ones into new territory for actually booking out these predictions as well. So let's move into the first of the two that we didn't cover the other day. So myself and Dan will give our kind of predictions to nail them on for the leaderboard, but of course be interested to hear what Sam thinks of these ones as well. Now the first one I think is pretty straightforward. Is Rhea Ripley versus Natalya, and there is no way Natalya is leaving with the title. I think it'd be an interesting match. Nice to see Natalya in a prominent position. Always got time for her, and I think she always does a good job. So yeah, happy.
Was that a picture of Natty from like 2K23 or something? Because that is not a human picture of something.
Yeah, they go wild on the Photoshop and airbrushing these
awful.
days. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, the match itself, I think Rhea is simply gonna win, and that's that. Not much to say on this one, unfortunately. But Dan, what are you thinking, mate?
Ripley, believe it or not.
Hey, I like what you did there. I like that. Sludge Sports is agreeing with you, by the way.
So yeah, I think it's. You know what? I honestly think the Saudis are probably like, oh, Natalya's like the only one we know. We need to get her on the show somehow. And they're like, right, okay, who are we going to put her with? Oh, Rhea's not got a match. We'll just stick her on with Rhea. But yeah, it's one of them. Like she's always like that safe pair of hands that they can put in there with somebody to have a good match. And I think she's somebody that's quite like expendable that Rhea can just easily like make herself look dominant by beating her as well, because obviously Natty has this like kind of legend status now kind of thing in WWE. But interesting side note, Lucas has actually gone for Natalya because he's not a big fan of Rhea Ripley, so he's like, he said I'll just keep going with anyone.
So I was going to reply that in our group chat, but I completely forgot. But it's a shame he's not on the stream because I do want to get into this, but I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Rhea Ripley ever. So I'm really surprised at it. And he's not even said much on the stream. So I'm wondering where that's come from. So it'd be interesting to hear that. So we're simply going with Rhea Ripley. Our comment coming in was for Rhea as well.
And Rob's gone Rhea as well.
And Rob's gone Rhea as well. Okay. Except
so basically the three like sensible ones have all gone for Rhea Ripley.
And Lucas should have learned by now. All three of us have won titles in the last 3 years. He's the one to not win a title, and he's still going with his rogue decisions. But Sam, what are you thinking, mate? Of course, you're not on our leaderboard, but we'd love to hear your opinion as well. Is it as simple as we put it with Rhea Ripley?
Yeah, but this is just like the other match to me. I think it needs to be Like Natalia is there because she's the journeyman. She's the Dolph Ziggler, the gatekeeper. They're spinning the wheels a little bit with Ripley. You're just giving her some people to eat through, so she looks dominant. And someone like Natty will test her because there's nothing Natty hasn't done in WWE. So I think Natty is going to stretch the hell out of Rhea. I think it'll be a competitive fight, but then Rhea has to win because she's the star. Natty understands the business very, very, very well. She will understand that. She's there to make Rhea look really good. That is her job here. And I think that is what they're going to do. They're not going to bury Natty at all. Natty's going to have a good showing. She's in a big gate, a big card, big show, big payday. So it's all good for Natty. But Natty's role here is to make Rhea Ripley look like a monster. And I don't think there's anybody better for that task.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's like she does so well though with Natty. I think she's had that so much experience in doing that you kind of know by default that you're going to get a good match. I guess it's like she's probably like the Chad Gable of like the women's division kind of thing. It's like whoever you put in there with them are going to have a solid match, but they're not necessarily always going to be like top of the card, or they're not always going to be in the title picture kind of thing. But you just know, okay, this is going to be like a half decent match kind of thing. So
because I think she's Dolph Ziggler, but I totally get. Gable's another one. Although the thing with Gable is I still hold out hope that he'll one day get the ball and run. Where I feel like someone like Ziggler and Natty might have had their day, and now they're there to make other people look awesome because nobody has ever. They don't ever need to be top of the card because we already know they're awesome.
Yeah.
They are. It's like they said in Fighting With My Family. He goes, "Oh, I call him sex tape. Why? Why is that? He makes stars. It's that. Dolph Ziggler and Natty, you are the sex tapes." There you go.
Yeah, what a kind of comparison there. I got where we were going with the Gable and Ziggler, and now we're getting into deeper territory there. But yeah, I appreciate the sentiment.
Choice of words.
Yeah, it's oh, sorry. But yeah, anyway, I'm lost. No, I get where you're coming from, and I think it makes sense. Like, as we said, really to put Natalia in a position like this, it's not believable that she'd do it. I mean, Rhea's on an absolute roll. She's, as much as Bianca's got this crazy over a year title reign, Rhea is certainly where it's at within the women's division at the moment, simply because of her work with the Judgment Day. So it would be crazy to take the title off of her, and there's no real kind of direction at the moment. I'm not saying Natalia's never going to be champ again, or that it wouldn't be ever believable, and they can't bring it back into that kind of scenario. But
probably another tag title reign with another partner, 55 or something.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. Sam, what are your thoughts on the whole Raw women's title being on SmackDown, SmackDown women's title being on Raw? How do you think they're going to get around that in the end?
I'm just so bored of the daftness. I think this draft was absolutely BS. I mean, I love the idea that they've pulled up loads of NXT guys. That's very exciting. But the brand, let's be honest, they do a brand split, they do a draft. Within 3 or 4 months, it's all gone to pot anyway. So I'm kind of like, what are they going to do? Have them swap in the ring again, like the New Day and thing he did? I'm so fatigued with some of their daftness that I actually don't care, and I'm just going with the flow.
They've messed it up already because they had Shotzi on Raw and she's a SmackDown superstar. So
really?
And Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was drafted to SmackDown. So
people are talking about the AEW draft as well, the AEW brand split, and I'm like, it means nothing. Yeah. Like they've actually, Tony Khan owns 2 separate promotions, and they both have the exact same roster. So brand splits mean nothing. Yeah. What's that meme of the guy sat there in front of a sign saying, and brand splits mean nothing. Change my mind.
Change my mind. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I am.
We'll recreate that with you in it. But I agree. I think the brand split's been all over the place for years, but this one seemed like a real chance to fix that under a new regime, and it's not really been the case. I mean, yes, they've not done the whole swapping of the titles, and they're trying something different. It seems to work around it, but it did come at a weird time, and it didn't help the booking, I think, of some of the PLEs around it as well. So and like we were saying last night, Sam, like I feel like a lot of what they're doing at the moment is just kind of waiting for them to get to that next stage and bring back that honeymoon kind of feeling that we had around SummerSlam and Clash.
Yes.
So still a lot of love and kind of optimism about it, but some of these storylines need to start going in certain directions. Some of these titles need to be kind of cleared up as well.
I just want to say, like, because we did say that last night. I still feel overall positive. Like, since Triple H became number one, I know Vince has come back and the water's been a bit muddied since, but it still is infinitely better than it was before all that. It still is. Definitely. It's from SummerSlam to Mania, everything was chef's kiss. And since Mania onwards, but we are in the post-Mania slump. So maybe that's to be expected, and they have done some controversial things in that time too. So, and they've been bought and sold. So it's like I think things will stabilize. But yeah, I just want to say I know the whole draft has been a bit silly, the daft draft, but it is still a much better situation than it was. But it's not the warm and fuzzy feeling we all had from SummerSlam to Clash at the Castle to Extreme Rules. Yeah. Like, that was a golden age in just a couple of months, and I'd do anything to get that back. I really would.
Yeah. I mean, you make some good points, though, especially about this post-Mania slump. I mean, we are still in this kind of giving the benefit of the doubt, because there are a lot of things, like I said, being bought and sold. Like, so much has happened. So, and they're also competing with a company, although sometimes I don't like to admit it, who are making waves in ways that nobody expected, as far as Wembley, a brand new show, and all the kind of rumors on the opposite side as well. And I think the good thing is they took away a lot of that fun. When AEW started to slip, they capitalized on it. It was feel good watching WWE, and now it could be swinging the other way again. But hey, man, I'm a wrestling fan. I'm here for it. Something that Sludge Sports isn't here for, though, is Natalya being champion again.
Oh, dude,
it's a bit harsh, Sludge. Come on,
man. Like, even if you don't like Natalya, you can't say she sucks. She's a tremendous wrestler. She's a little bit dull. It's like saying The Godfather sucks. It's okay to not like The Godfather. It's not for everyone. But you can't say it sucks, because it's just patently incorrect, demonstrably wrong. It's okay having an opinion, but she doesn't suck. She's excellent at what she does.
I suppose. Just say, not for me. Not for me.
She's just not very exciting anymore. She's just not exciting anymore. Where Rhea Ripley is.
Very exciting.
I think wrestling, like pure wrestling ability alone, that is probably up there in, like, at the moment, probably the top 10, maybe top 5 that they've got.
100%, easily. That's why she's in this position at Saudi Arabia. She's here because no one can make a person look as good as she can. Like, we're never going to be in the era of Natty versus Charlotte again. Like, remember that? You might be the queen or the whatever, but I have the heart. We're never going to have that again. That's done. It was so 10 years ago, but Natty can go, and she's still a killer. And I tell you what, if you have to get into a fight with her in real life, she'll tie you in knots. She will tie you in knots.
That's a good point.
Don't ever doubt that. She's a killer.
Yeah, I think her style's quite different. I think just like when you compare like Trish, great for Era and Lita, what they were doing at the time, and you could do this wrestling overall. You could argue that Matt and Nick Jackson would wrestle rings around the Rockers, but that's because the Rockers were innovative at their time. If you're talking about a certain style, is what I'm saying. It's like what they do with super kicks and these tag team moves are kind of seem, they're quite primitive these days compared to what they've become. Whether you like that style or not, Ricochet is way beyond what some of the kind of cruiserweights were doing in the early 90s as well. But that doesn't mean Ricochet could have been there without those guys. So I think, like you say, 10 years ago, it was like this kind of she was certainly the best women's wrestler that they had. And I loved seeing her with Beth Phoenix and stuff like that. But now things have moved on and her style was a little different, so, and she was, probably held back quite a lot as far as her progression goes as well. So, but yeah, I think she's in a great role at the moment, kind of always being that person you can kind of slot into any situation, like you two guys said, like Dolph is and stuff like that as well. So yeah, props to Natty, and hopefully we see more prominent roles for her, even if she's not winning the title. I think she's a nice little kind of addition to the card as well. Now, speaking of the card itself, go ahead, Sam.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that Hall of Fame, she's in there. And she's in there
without a doubt.
She's in there before Rhea. She's in there right there with Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Sasha Banks when the time comes. They are going in, and I can't wait. And
I think she'll be a bit I mean, I don't know personally how people take her back. I mean, everyone's nice about her at the moment, but you never know if people leave the company. Suddenly, the things might come out as far as she was never a nice person. But I've not heard bad things about her. But what I'm saying is, like, I think it might be a similar situation to Molly Holly, where a lot of people start saying, "Man, she helped my career so much, you don't even understand."
Yeah,
so
agreed.
I think we might get that quite a bit with Natty as well.
Massively.
Right, let's move into the other one we didn't get to do. And of course, this was another women's match that wasn't announced at the time of our original preview, and that is Becky Lynch versus Trish. Now, the good thing about this match that I'm really excited about is the fact that it's a grudge match that has nothing to do with a title. I'm very excited to see that. Strange that it's on Night of Champions, and we did talk about this last night, that this is a frustrating thing about Night of Champions, that it's not about its original kind of theme, but hey, we've got it. And I'm happy to see this match anyway. I'm so happy for Becky Lynch, the person, Rebecca Quinn, I think her name is. So I'm so happy for her because this must feel incredible. She's worked with Trish before, don't get me wrong, but to be able to go 1-on-1 against Trish is fantastic for, you know, a wrestler growing up and idolizing someone like that. So I'm happy for her. Happy for Trish as well, because I've said the past few months that finally we're getting a legend that is her character isn't I'm a legend. It's it still kind of is, don't get me wrong, but it's in a kind of Healy way, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I know not a lot of people have been fans of some of her promos, but again, I think she's someone that her kind of potential was stumped because of the era she was in, and she could only progress so far. And I think what we get from Trish, I think it's unfair to compare her to some of the other people on the mic from this era, but I think she's doing a good job. I'm looking forward to seeing this, and again, this is exactly what I wanted to see as far as you know, a competition goes between people that aren't involved with the title picture. So this time we'll go with Dan first. What are you thinking, mate? Trish Stratus, Becky Lynch, who's coming out on top? And does it matter if it's not for a title?
For me, this is actually quite tricky, you know, because yes, I guess it all depends on, you know, are they going to kind of carry the feud on? You know, are they both then going to end up going into Money in the Bank? What's going to happen there, kind of thing. And then let's not forget as well, Lita's going to have a grudge when she comes back against Trish potentially, but I'm guessing she's probably done for now. Yeah, it's kind of tricky because I think if Becky loses, it's like then does that kind of like derail some of her like momentum, I guess, that, you know, because obviously her ultimate goal, I'm guessing, is going to be going after that SmackDown women's title, even though she's on Raw, but yeah, is going after Rhea Ripley for that title, but yeah, it's quite hard to pick. And then obviously Trish is, you know, seems like she's actually in it for like a while now, because I don't think they would have done the thing with her being involved in the draft if she was literally going to go away straight after this kind of thing. So, you know, I think we've definitely got Trish kind of through SummerSlam, you know, maybe into like next year kind of thing. Obviously it all depends on, you know, what she wants to do with stuff. So let's have a think. Let's try and get my sensible hat on here. So the other two have gone Becky.
Okay.
I'm partially inclined to agree, but like I said, it's not an easy one to actually pick. Because I feel like she'll need it more. I'm gonna go with Becky, I think. I'll lock in Becky Lynch, I think.
See, I feel this is a really tough one as well. I'm part of another league table non-related to the channel, and in that one I had to put my prediction in, and I did go for Trish, so I'm trying to keep them uniformed here, so I'm going to go with Trish, but it's a very difficult one for me because it's weird saying Becky needs it, but that's just because of this kind of age-old thing of she's the current star. But then this whole kind of confusion of how long is Trish sticking around for is what makes me think, but Trish in London as a rematch, maybe that's what's going on, you know. So Becky feels, you know, and Becky's got the upper hand lately, I feel, with some of his comments, you know, about woof woof and all that kind of stuff as well. So I feel Trish needs to look strong. If it was a one and done, I think I'd say Becky, but I kind of inclined to think it's not a one and done, even though this has been going on for quite a while now, this storyline. I feel like, are we on borrowed time with Trish because she's been around for quite a bit and you don't usually get that with legends, but it does feel like she is a proper member of the roster at the moment. So I think that's where it lies for me. So I've gone with Trish, just kind of edging it for that. But I'm not 100% confident about it. I'm a little concerned I might be dropping points here. But let's move on to someone who doesn't have a kind of horse in this race as far as our predictions table. But still, I'm sure, surely it's not an easy one to pick still, Sam.
I'm going with Becky. I think.
Oh, maybe it is easy.
Yeah, no, I could be wrong, but I think they want the audience to be happy. There might be several things that happen tonight that might be a little bit heat generators as opposed to making people happy. So I think it makes sense for Becky to kick the crap out of Trish and Trish to slink away. Where else can they go after this with this feud? Are they going to have like a cage match or a Hell in a Cell? Yeah, what are they going to do?
That's what I'm thinking.
I think it. And Trish isn't a full timer either. She's at some point going to go home again and get crack on with some DDP yoga. So I'm going with Becky because I think they might end it here. But again, I've been wrong before.
Yeah, I just feel like the blow off to be at Night of Champions feels odd to me. So
yeah,
but then again, I can't see it going on till SummerSlam either. So it's a strange one. And again, I think a lot of it does depend on kind of commitment to the roster and stuff like that. Sludge agrees with me. He says Trish wins. But yeah, there's a tinge of regret already locking my vote in for Trish. But we'll see how it plays out as well. Let's stick to the women's division for a little bit as well. Another one I think is quite hard to talk about because at some point this reign's got to end. But of course, we're talking about Bianca Belair, the Raw Women's Champion, defending against Asuka. And as I've said a few times on the stream last night, and with on Andrew Spores' channel, but also on our own predictions the other day, you either got to do something with Asuka or you're not. So I don't know who beats Bianca. So I think I actually went for Asuka in this. Am I right, Dan? Did I go for Asuka?
Let me just have a quick look. I know somebody did. I'm not entirely sure. It probably is, to be honest.
I'm a bit concerned I'm not holding on to my position here for long. Sludge Sports says Bianca wins because she's going to lose. Why not do it at Mania so Bianca wins? Okay. If she's going to lose, sorry. Yeah, why not do it at Mania? I think it was to get over that thing, though, when it's to have a celebration of what was it, year and all that.
I think it's to be the longest reigning champion.
Because like I said the other day, it's been like, as much as I love Bianca, it has been stale for a while, and either she turns heel or she loses the title. So one of those things got to happen kind of soon for me. I think they probably are aware that 3 months ago it started to get like, okay, when's it going to happen? But saw this kind of milestone that they kind of couldn't let go of, and I appreciate that. So that's why I think she's losing soon. Maybe this is too soon.
Sam, both you and Lucas, by the way.
Oh, Lucas went for... Okay,
yeah, you and Lucas.
I was going to say I don't feel as bad now, but then again, Lucas comes up with the wild predictions. Maybe I do feel bad. Sam, what are you thinking, mate? Is it Asuka or is it Bianca?
I think Asuka, because I agree, because I wanted Asuka to lose it at Mania. I was Asuka to win at Mania. I was cheering her on, and the rest of the crowd were like, "This guy's a nutter." But yeah, I'm a huge Asuka fan. I want her to get her flowers. I'm a bit bored of Bianca Belair's reign. Big fan of her. I think she's tremendous in the ring. Great character work. Really, really good. But the crowd are turning on her, and she's starting to feel like a little bit more heelish. And it's like, you live long enough, you either die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain situation is going on now. It reminds me of Okada when he had his really, really long reign before Omega took it off him. I think she either needs to turn heel and galvanize the title reign as I'm this good, and if you don't like me just because I'm this good, then screw you. That needs to happen. Or Asuka takes it off her and goes on a tear, and Bianca maybe becomes turns and has a feud with another babyface. But I personally, they did all this rejigging of Asuka and giving her back her Kana persona and all of that, and they've then not done anything with it. So, and we already know the crowd is turning on Bianca Belair, and they've hinted at her doing a couple of more heelishy things, and then they've moved away from it again. So End the reign tonight. I say end it tonight. Maybe give them a rematch, or have Bianca just become a total spoiled brat after losing and beat up a babyface she gets on with, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm going with Asuka because I think it would be the right decision. If Bianca loses, she wins again, there will be an audible groan come Monday Night Raw.
I think you're right as well, because you look back at the showing in Puerto Rico, fantastic match, but there were times where fans started to slowly turn against her. So
they were openly hostile.
Something's got to change, Sludge Sports agrees with it there, mate, saying, I agree, Bianca needs to turn heel. Dan, what are you thinking? Heel turn necessary, and are we going to get it? Or is this another John Cena situation where it's not happening anytime soon?
What I see happening is I see obviously Bianca currently Raw Women's Champion. I can see them doing something where they will make her into like the WWE, like just change the name of the title to like the WWE Women's title or something.
Yeah.
But then I'm literally just having a quick look now through the SmackDown Women's roster. I think if you're keeping, if you're going to keep the babyface Bianca, then for me, the only one I can really see taking it off her, if it's not Asuka, is Bayley at the minute. So you've got...
Which probably should have happened about 6 months ago itself.
Yeah, because, I mean, at the moment, you've got, over on SmackDown, you've got Alba Fire, Asuka, B-Fab, Bayley, Bianca, obviously, Charlotte Flair, Dakota Kai, who's now injured, Isla Dawn, Io Sky, Lacey Evans, Michin, Scarlett, Shotzi, Tamina, and Zelina Vega. So there's not really, like, apart from Charlotte, Bayley, and Asuka, there's not really names there that kind of jump off the page at you and scream, I'm your next women's champion. Whereas then you look over on like the Raw side of things, you've got people in there like your Becky's, your Raquel, Rhea Ripley, Ronda, Shayna, Sonya. So it's like Raw is more of the like the women like the heavier like women's division, I feel. So it's like it's a tricky one. I mean, I could even see them doing, or especially Triple H doing it with, if Bianca does turn heel, then do like a double turn and have Bayley as like the baby face winning the Money in the Bank, and like not necessarily like hugger Bayley, but because obviously Bayley is like mad over in the UK, and then you obviously get Bayley as like happy-go-lucky Bayley again, and
I guess that's the way out of it as well, though. If you get because cash-ins are weirdly more exciting when they're heels. So if Bayley is officially a heel but cashes in and wins on a Bianca that's quite stale, that could slowly switch them round, and Bianca then has a reason to be angry. Where 9 times out of 10 the heels in the right as well, but the fans pretend to not see it their way. So that'd be an interesting way to kind of turn Bianca into this kind of, as Sam said earlier on, this annoyed at like what's going on around her sort of thing. Fans turning on her, almost Hollywood Rock-esque, So, but I do think it needs to freshen up, and it is a bit of shame that it's kind of getting that way, because again, she is a great talent. Give me a whole representation here as well, not just on the stream but within the chat, saying hi guys, great stream, much appreciated, mate, thanks for joining us. Of course we're hoping to have Dom on later on as well, also of Give Me a Whole fame. With that in mind, Sam, do you want to run through who you are, what you do, and where people can find you? I think you're muted.
Yes, sorry, I was messing around on another YouTube page for later, just only for a moment. But so Give Me a Whole is obviously our podcast, is where we have a little bit of fun and basically act like fans and discuss our opinions and that sort of things. We do live streams, a lot of the same stuff you guys do, in truth, like opinion videos, previews to shows and then reviews of shows. But then we also do WrestleSphere. There's the logo there on my t-shirt and on the back of my shirt.
Look at that proper company guy, repping two at once. Look at that.
You should have seen me at WrestleMania. Like I never took my I never took this hat. Yeah, I was. I never took the the WrestleSphere hoodie off. I had to take it off Dom at one point when he was sniffing it. No, I'm joking. I was asleep. Then there's WrestleSphere, of course, which is a spin-off of Dom's Soundsphere magazine. WrestleSphere is we were doing so much wrestling content that we thought, right, we really need to brand split, make another brand, and focus all our efforts on the wrestling. So right now we've got other contributors as well, but it's primarily me and Dom. Andy Spores has got involved too and has done a couple of interviews and articles for us. So we're growing steadily, slowly but surely. We had a bit of a milestone month last week actually, because lots of other platforms were sharing our Mustafa Ali interview. So that before this PLE, so that was pretty awesome. So yeah, that's where we behave like grown-ups. Where I'll give me a whole we're a little bit more irreverent.
Yeah, no, all good. And yeah, I can only echo what Sam's been saying there. To check out their stuff. Big fan of what they're doing over there. Of course, like I said, we've got Dom. Been on the channel a few times. Hopefully join us in a bit, and so will Andy as well. And we've got the Twitter handles coming across the screen at the moment. Of course, Sam's the one with us at the moment, so you can find him at SamSmith_1987 as well. So let's move it back in-house with Dan here. I want to quickly ask you, mate, what are you thinking of the rumors of AJ and Seth opening up? I know before we came on air, you mentioned it's because of, or was it when we came on air? I've lost track already.
Yeah, I think
Seth...
I think it was when we came on. I think PW Insider have basically confirmed it now.
I just don't. This is the thing. So we said the other day, didn't we, about this?
Confirmed that it's opening, but whether that's the reasoning.
I think the film stuff is just adding fuel to the fake fire, in my opinion. Of see, he's got a rush up. See what I mean? I don't buy any of the kind of WWE aren't sure because it is film rubbish, because they love the film rubbish. And as I said on our preview, Seth Rollins is the kind of man holding the title on the red carpet. So I don't buy it personally, and I think this title has been set up for Seth. But what's your opinion of it going on first, and the perception of that, whatever the reason is behind it? To me, I've been saying all week, if it goes on first, it will infuriate me, because it's already a consolation prize. And yeah, look, let's be real, when it's been two titles before, where it's WWE and Universal, where it's WWE and the World Heavyweight, the one that opens up, or always feels like the one that doesn't matter as much. So it's and when you haven't even got a world title match, and it's the crowning of a new world title, and it still can't go on last, I feel like I'm getting myself worked up about something that might not even happen here. But if rumors are to be believed, Dan, what do you feel about it?
Well, they've got to find some way to put three main events on a show, and they can't all go on last, pretty much.
Yeah, three main events. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it's I can't remember. I think it might have actually been Lucas I was having this discussion with yesterday, and we were saying about, like, with these kind of shows, if you've got like multiple matches that you consider like your main event matches, it's like when we went to WrestleMania 35, and it was like about 15 hours long, pretty much. And the opening match on that show, you're like, okay, what is going to be a good way to get the crowd hyped for this show, and to show, something that's going to be, this is going to be a really good show? Well, you put on a banging title match, and that was obviously Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar. Seth and AJ, I think if it was Seth and AJ and it wasn't for a title and it's going on first, you're thinking, okay, this is going to be like one of those matches where they're going to go out there, they're going to kick the show off with an absolute bang.
Yeah, get you in the mood.
Just literally, it'll be one of them. Just walk backstage and say to the guys, follow that. And I doubt, there'll be many in the back that will be able to do that, especially with those, like, how good those two guys are, between them ropes. And it's, I guess, I'm never a fan of, like, I'm of this like old school kind of mentality of your main title should be the main event match, like all the time. For me, it should always be like, if you've got, but then I think where they kind of screw themselves over is having the 2/3, depending if you're Rob, then like 4 world titles basically on the one show. It's like, well, which one goes first? Now, to me, I think if you've got a world title on a show and the other champion, i.e. Roman in this case, is in another match, then your world title match has to main event, like has to go.
Mm.
Well, we use the term main event. When we use the term main event, we're not like WWE. Oh, this match is good, so we're going to call it a main event.
Yeah.
Main event to us is like the last match on the show kind
yeah.
of thing. So yeah, I think if you have a world title match, it should really main event. I can kind of see why they're doing it as well, because I think they're probably going to now. My theory is they're going to main event now with the tag title match. And that, I think, is purely because Roman's in it and the people, and obviously Sami and Kevin, and you know how super over they are, and with the crowd and stuff. And yeah, I think it's kind of strange because you obviously want to kind of bookend the show with real like good quality matches, but to brand it as one of your main event matches, put it on first, and it's a brand new title. I mean, the title seems like it's already devalued anyway, because they've basically said this is like the consolation prize. But then to put it on first would basically be more of like a 2 fingers up at the crowd. I think, in all fairness, I think if it does come out that it is true that Seth does need to shoot off, and he's like, look, I can come and do the match, but I need to go, then I think then it's a bit more sensible, because you're obviously getting that good match. It's you know, it's there, it's out the way. You know, and it might have been like a compromise that he'd made. It was like, look, I can do it, but only if I go on first. But yeah, just obviously keep the engine running on the plane. Let him have a great match with AJ. Because the thing, I think there's nobody that's sitting watching this show thinking this is going to be a bad match by any means. Like this is, it's going to be up there. It's going to be talked about as one of the matches of the night for sure. But yeah, I think the card positioning, it will say a lot, I think, about the title where it goes.
Like you say, depending on the reason, if it is legit and he's having a shoot off, then that's a good compromise. Although I will say, there's a few stories about getting out of there on time on planes, so hopefully it works out for Seth if that is the case. But let's imagine that's not the case, and then if that isn't the reason and it goes on first, I think it's a real devaluation of the title already. And again, we already know it's consolation. The perception is not good about why they've done this title in the first place. So if it does go on first, I hope it's for that. If it does go on first and it's not because of a movie thing, I think Seth and AJ were going to put on a banger anyway, just them two being in a title match. But I think Seth in particular would feel like, I need to point through. I'm making this title be the main title. Like, even though he knows the perception of it, I think he'd be furious and that'll fire him up. And if this is true and he has to leave, doesn't have to leave, but they are putting it on first just because they're putting it on first, and that's the way they shape the card, I think he'll be even more fired up about it as well. So, Sam, what are your thoughts on this?
I've always avoided the idea of it being a consolation belt. Like, in my head, they brought back the big gold belt because things haven't really worked out massively well with the Universal title. That's the way I've always seen it. But if they put this on first, then it might as well. It's the IC or the US title. It might as well be. It doesn't have the same, level of prestige. And like, I'm glad Cody Rhodes is nowhere near it, because that would have been a consolation prize. I liked the idea of someone like Seth or AJ holding, or even someone like Balor. I like the idea of them having another big champion who defends it and a baby face, perhaps, so Rollins works, they could sing his song. AJ might not have too long left on his career. He's done everything there is to do. This would be a great way of him holding the successor to the big gold belt. Would be a great way to round out his career. He's quite come full circle in many ways. But if they put it on first, they will lose a lot of goodwill for people like me. I want this to be built up. I don't need it to be the last match, but it should be, because Roman ain't defending.
Yeah.
Roman's, and I don't mind that, because Roman's in a tag belt going for another one, so that's okay. But Brock and Cody doesn't deserve to main event this time, because we've already had it. And let's be honest, this is going to be a 2-minute squash of Cody.
Yeah.
So what else on this card is worth sticking at the end, if not this? Yeah, that's my question.
Well, there's all that talk before. Again, I don't know if this is true or what. I've heard rumors about Roman being like, kind of like Brock, first or last type situation. But yeah, for me, like as Dan kind of alluded to earlier on, a title kind of, if you've got two of them, one of them's not going on the main event, and that's fine. Sometimes it kind of tells you what you need to know, but sometimes it's just necessary. This time, if it isn't about a commitment elsewhere, that title just needs to go on last. It has to. It's the crowning of a new championship. There is no, and it's called Night of Champions. Like there is no way around it. We can't. I know the other ones that tag titles is the title match, and it's a massive storyline. And maybe if something big is to happen in that, it needs to close the show, and maybe that's kind of a reason for it. But if this goes on first, it's nothing to do with Hollywood, and it's not going to lead to something massive happening in a bloodline situation, then it will be a bit of a sad situation for me. But yeah, Dan, I know you've got to get out of here. So any final thoughts on Night Champions before you do?
I think they've got the format of it kind of wrong, because Night of Champions, I was always of the impression that every title should be defended. So,
agreed.
And if we're going on like, and I know like Scott, you'll know about Rob's logic of it, Roman should be having about 5 or 6 matches, because Rob's theory of every belt is amalgamated into this like WWE Undisputed Universal title. So he's defending the WCW title, the old WWF title, the Undisputed. It's like, but no, I just think they've missed the trick, 'cause obviously no US title on it. The women's tag title thing, they're obviously doing that on Raw. Like, why would you not just do that on Night of Champions? It's another title match on that show. If you're going with the 8 matches, then you obviously have Roman defending his titles there, and because that's what I thought initially they were going to do, was they were going to have Roman's like 1,000-day coronation at Night of Champions, which is that is today, isn't it? It's actually the 1,000 days. So acknowledge your tribal chief, isn't it? So
yeah.
So,
I mean, congrats to him. We are apparently getting something like that next week, which could play into the Bloodline thing, which we'll touch on as well. But Dan, thank you for joining us. Good to have you back on the Build Up Show.
Well, at least one champion bothered to show up. So
hey, we talking about I'm a champ as well. Well, I'm a former champ.
That's the only cup I get for winning mine.
Hey, your trophy's still getting made. Right. Anyway, thanks, Dan. We'll see you in a bit.
Catch you guys later. Take care. Thanks. Man. Bye.
All right. So with as you just kind of mentioned there, Cody and Brock, Sam, do you think it is as straightforward as that we're getting a squash here? I think most people tend to agree with that. And the big kind of thing is that it's kind of annoying that they've done what happened already in real life like a year ago with Seth Rollins. They're doing it again anyway. Like, we've been here before. We don't need to have a storyline where he comes up, overcomes a health situation. We've literally just had that, and it kind of devalues the original one, in my opinion. So as far as the predictions locked in, Dan and myself went for Brock. Lucas, who isn't here at the moment, also went for Brock, and Rob, who sadly couldn't join us today either, has gone actually for Cody Rhodes. And Rob's kind of theory as well was that eventually we might get Cody going for the Money in the Bank and being stopped by Brock Lesnar, and I actually quite like that. That kind of keeps Cody out of the thing for a bit, because I don't think Cody should win that either. But yeah, do you think this is all about, we protected Brock last month with a quick sneaky roll up sort of thing, or leaning on him even? Is this one about protecting Cody by also giving him the excuse of he was injured?
I suppose in a way that is protecting Brock, but I interpreted it as Cody was cleverer, outsmarted, and out wrestled him, because he won by a roll-up, a legitimate wrestling move. He just out-wrestled Brock. Brock was so busy being an angry monster that he didn't realize this is a wrestling match, and you just lost it. Do you know what I mean? So I actually kind of liked that finish, because a lot of people didn't, and I thought it was smart. It felt like a territories match.
I loved it.
You just got out-wrestled by a better opponent. I didn't like it when Brock kind of did that to Lashley. So he did something similar, because that just felt a bit cheap. But that with Cody, it felt very deliberate and very slick. So I think here, but Brock ain't. I can't see Brock losing twice. And I feel like they've given Cody, like, we are meant to believe in this storyline that Cody is the better wrestler. So the only way he loses is if Brock injures him beforehand, and then Brock can beast his ass, F5 him, Suplex City, all of that. I think this will be a getting the heat back on Brock, maybe because they're going to do something at SummerSlam. I love the idea of Money in the Bank. I like that idea, and Cody being costed Money in the Bank by Brock, they could still do anyway.
Yeah.
I'd very much like a reason as to why Brock has attacked Cody and has singled him out, but I think this was a Vince decision on around the night after WrestleMania. And I don't think WWE even know why Brock did it. So I don't think I genuinely believe that. I don't think they know that. They just thought it'd be a good swerve, and they're just going to they're going to gloss over it until it doesn't matter anymore. That is what we're going to do. But I think Brock is going to squash Cody in this match. I think Cody will look strong and will look plucky, and he's going to try and fight him with one arm, and he's going to come up short. I think Brock will lose the feud. But this is the bit where he gets a bit of his own back. I could be wrong.
So a lot of people are comparing it as well to some Dusty storylines where Dusty had a broken ankle, I think it was, and kind of replaying that. And I appreciate that. But again, the fact that we had it last year is kind of annoying. And you know, I know we spoke last night about your broken arm and how long it took you to heal that. So surely that means going into Money in the Bank after being squashed here, apparently, Cody's going to have to really be playing up the arm and I can't climb the ladder and all that kind of stuff if he's in that in the first place in that match. So they're going to kind of have to commit to this thing if this is the reason he doesn't do it. Now, they don't always do that. They forget about it quite often. But Sludge Sports also thinks that Brock's going to win. It does feel like the right thing to do for me. I think last month Cody had to win. This month Brock has to win. Like, I don't think this is the time, but that's what I'm a bit worried about, that they are going to go, oh, look what he battled through and won. And I don't think now's the time to do it. I think it is hopefully something that's going to be prolonged because you need to keep Cody away from the title. And this is kind of been a decent way of doing it as well. Any final thoughts on Brock and Cody before we move on?
Well, I think what they need to do is they need both the river of Roman Reigns and the river of Cody Rhodes to keep meandering away from each other before they start coming back towards each other WrestleMania season. If that's still the plan, but I know it was the plan at one point and probably still is. But we need Roman to chomp through his family, who are turning on him one by one, or he's turning on them.
Yeah,
like big storylines there with the Usos. There's lots of things still need to happen there, but it's the same with Cody. Cody's got a lot of dragons to slay on his way back to Roman Reigns. So if Cody just beats Brock here and moves on, where does he go? Who does he move on to? They need to spin this out for SummerSlam and then pivot to something else, because like Roman will be doing his stuff with the Usos and Sami Zayn probably now for another year, or at least until we get to Mania. So they need to keep Cody busy, and I agree they need to keep him away from the title picture. He needs to keep coming up short, no fault of his own.
Yeah, and the thing is, if they don't prolong this feud, like you say, he's got to move on to someone else, and someone else has got to really wrong him. Like, and it'll be the same storyline. It'll be like every 2 months, Cody is wronged by someone else, and I think that's the only way they can really keep these streams apart, as you say, because so if they don't kind of make these long feuds, then we're going to get sick of it quite quickly, So I think the best thing to do probably is have Brock beat him, Brock again get one up on him by stopping him winning the Money in the Bank, go to SummerSlam, and all of a sudden you're now building towards the next one being Survivor Series, and then you've got another kind of long stretch to go for someone else as well. So it's a risky game they're playing with Cody if they are trying to kind of put him to next year, but we'll see how that goes. What do you think as far as... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One thought I had as well is because like they could have him go after Gunther for the IC, providing Gunther retains, which I think he's going to do. They could have him go after Austin Theory for the US. They could have him go. They could have him go after the heavyweight title, but you might need that because like him and Seth have got beef, and Seth is a babyface now, but they could still dig up that beef. I like the idea of him winning a mid-card title, like the United States title, and going, look, this means so much to me, but I'm going to relinquish because it isn't the one I'm after. It isn't the one I'm chasing. I've got it. I proved I can do it. Roman, I ain't done with you. I love the idea of them doing that because that would give Cody a chance to look strong and a few wins. And he'll then look, because if he keeps losing all the way up till Mania, he's going to look like crap. So they've got to do something cool with him. And I think that could be it. It's just a thought. But yeah, I'm just trying to book the next 12 months all the way back to Mania.
Yeah, no, I think you kind of have to, because it's hard to see where WWE are going to go without kind of accidentally, dropping a few eggs and kind of making a few issues with it. So 2 things you mentioned there that I actually quite like that kind of link up together is this theory they could go after Austin Theory, which is strange for me to say, and a mid-card title. And I think the US title would be perfect. The American Nightmare branded with the US title, I think that'd be incredible. And it's a title that's linked to WCW and NWA as well. So there's that kind of heritage behind it. I think it'd legitimize that title. I think a feud with Theory would do him wonders. Both guys as well, keeps Cody busy. Keeps Theory kind of looking strong as well. So yeah, man, I'm 100% up for that. I mean, that's the thing I most want to see at the moment. I think is Brock Lesnar being kind of Cody's distraction for a bit. Cody goes on to a feud with Theory, wins the title, markets the title in a few t-shirts because of it, and then eventually, I don't know if he should win the Rumble, but that kind of ties us up nicely as far as then going for Roman eventually as well. So yeah, I really like the sound of that.
I think it's important that I think it's important that he relinquishes as well quite soon if he was to get it, because I don't think he can lose it. Because if he relinquishes it, it's his choice. It's him doing it.
Yeah, but does that damage the title?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just a case of I'm going after, because it's already that mid card title.
Yeah,
and he could go down the road of no distractions, no nothing. I love the United States. I love being the United States champion. But the United States is only one small part of the world.
Yeah.
Or the universe. And Roman, you're the one holding that. I'm coming for you. Like, there's loads of ways they could do that, because it's the problem they've got now with Cody is if they've got to make him look strong, and winning a mid-card title is how you do that. But any title he holds now is, let's all say it together, it's just there as a placeholder. It's a consolation prize. So that is why I mentioned the very important point of him relinquishing if he is to win it, and he has to stay away from the heavyweight title. So the minute he goes near that, if he was to win that, oh my lord.
Yeah, and it would devalue this, because even if they eventually get to finishing the story, it would devalue that story as well. And
yes,
I think the relation, if any character could do it, probably is Cody, because like you say, he can be like, oh, I love being this champion, I love being a fighting champion, but my eyes are somewhere else, and I can't, as if like kind of like someone breaking up with a partner because they're honest that eventually they might end up cheating and their love lies somewhere else. Like maybe it's that kind of thing where Cody's like, look, I'm trying to be the honorable person here. I'm going to let go of this title. It pains me to do so, but let's be real, my focus is elsewhere. And lately I've been kind of and it's not fair, up and comers are coming at me and I'm not giving them shots or something like that. Cody could try and do it in an honorable way.
I'm here to finish the story. This is only one chapter in the story, and I'm closing this chapter, and the story has to come to an end. There's so much, it writes itself.
Mate, I didn't think we'd be fantasy booking a US title run for Cody Rhodes.
You bring me on a stream, you get fantasy bookings if you bring me on a stream.
I love it. And you know what? What do you think this whole Triple H link is? Because there's been one with him in the past, of course. There's the famously in AEW smashes up the throne. The Sledgehammer, he's made kind of interesting comments there as well. But then at the same time, he's also been like, Triple H is my favorite wrestler. And now we're getting them kind of on camera. We got that moment on Raw where it finished, of course, with just them backstage and Triple H being like, I get it. Like you are like me. Do you think that's going to go any further? Is Triple H almost going to be the new Arn Anderson and saying about up in the air, that weird Arn Anderson promo we got?
Oh, the Glock. That was great.
Are we getting Triple H being the new holder of the Glock?
I felt that was really awkward when I saw them both sat together. Then I went, ooh.
Yeah.
Have they've discussed that, because I always thought when he did that in AW, it was so obvious who the target was. But I always thought he was a weird target. Like, I get going after Vince, I get going after near enough anyone apart from Triple H.
Yeah.
But then they even gave Brandy a parody version of Stephanie McMahon's title as well. So I was like, why? Like, they're trying to become they're trying to be the king and queen of AW. And have themselves as rivals to Stephanie and Triple H, who at that point were the forces of good within WWE.
Yeah,
not the bad guys. Like, yes, I know they've been the authority in the past and they've done all of that, but like when Stephanie McMahon and Triple H both took over, Vince stepped aside and Nick Khan was just like on an even keel with Steph. we all partied. We were all like, yes, this is what we've wanted for so long. So I always thought Triple H was such a weird target for Cody in AEW. Where now, although it's created a bit like they can do this fatherly thing, he can be the new Dusty, and Seth can be the new Cody can be the new Seth Rollins in that way. Because I think Cody has always kind of wanted to be Triple H a little bit. There's clearly a lot of
influence there,
influence there, and I think they're just leaning into it, and they know the fans know all this as well. Like, you know, that's we can all see the footage of that throne smash. We've all seen it. I like the idea of it going somewhere. Although I also like the idea of Triple H screwing him and pedigreeing him.
You know what?
I also like what it's like again. It's the scorpion and the frog all over again. Why did you do that? I'm a scorpion. Why did you pedigree me in the middle of the ring? I'm Triple H, dude.
Yeah. It's tough that Triple H can't wrestle again. That's the real shame about it. But they could find a way, like you said earlier, just mentioning Seth Rollins, for him to be someone to be the representation of Triple H and the authority figure. And maybe that's what it is to kind of get them through. You know what? US title, Triple H, and then Roman Reigns. That's how we get back to Roman. Could be what we see there.
And who's to say, like, Seth doesn't keep the heavyweight title and then turn heel, and then he feuds with Cody, and Cody gets screwed by that. And maybe they do the whole Triple H coming out and, like, using Seth Rollins as his sleeper agent and doing that. He could maybe do the pedigree on Cody, or maybe I imagine Triple H can't wrestle, but no one has said he can't do a pedigree on someone.
Yeah, I reckon he'll do a pedigree. Surely he could do a pedigree. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, but I feel like
I reckon he can do a pedigree. Or he can use an instrument. I'm not saying bring back the authority, but if they're going to spin the wheels and make it fun, there's so many good stuff they can do. And if they are leaning into whatever this is with Triple H, it just seems too delicious not to do.
Exactly, yeah. It's kind of waiting there. Like you said, the fans kind of know about already, so why not lean into it? You mentioned earlier on a strange target, and I want to get your thoughts on this actually as far as strange targets go. Brandy Rhodes, I don't know if you've seen this tweet, but she retweeted the clip of Cody coming out at that press event in Jeddah, and basically gets a fantastic reaction. They did a whoa and all that, and Brandy says, and some people still say he should have stayed where he was. ... Maybe we should let that one go for now. Star eyes emoji ×3. Now I get the sentiment and what she's saying there of kind of the doubters and stuff like that, but it feels like a strange dig at AEW. Maybe it's not, and a lot of the comments have come out of this are quite funny because they're like, he was booking, like it was his company as well, like, so it's a strange one to do. Maybe there are these kind of behind the scenes things that we don't quite know about. Of course, leaving was a strange massive storyline that blew up straight away anyway, that I don't think we'll ever really know the full answers for, and they've been quite respectful since. But this kind of seems like there is something bubbling under the surface. Is that what you kind of take that as far as Brandy's comments there, or is it simply her just backing her husband in a nice way?
I think it's a bit of both. I reckon, because she's also said in the past, "Ooh, there's so much I can't say that I'd like to say." Do you know what I think's going on? I can't prove it, but if you put two into, like, again, there is evidence to suggest it. I think AEW is very, very cliquey. I think the elite have a lot of their allies backstage and a lot of fans who, like, who they're almost like a firm within the company. I think if you come along and make waves, or not so much threaten their spot, I don't want to accuse them of that. But and God knows CM Punk is absolutely probably a pain in the arse in real life. Can anybody dispute that at this point? But I think when people like that come in, I don't think they're little cherubs backstage. I think they are little politicers. I think they do. If somebody disagrees with their way of doing things, I remember we had the Codyverse, and then we had everything else going on. He lost that war. There was a war. Even if it was a bit of a backstage nitpicky war, Cody lost it, and Cody left. And then the next target was CM Punk, who doesn't make life easy for himself because he's a famously cantankerous, difficult human being to work with. So, so I absolutely think there is beef there in the Runnels family for AEW and what happened. And I don't necessarily think it's aimed towards Tony Khan, because I don't think Khan is massively respected by that little contingents who follow the elite. And again, I can't prove any of this. This is just me going off what we've seen over the years. But it's why people like yes, was Punk in the wrong at the press conference, do what he did, and to hurt people and things like that. Yes, of course he was, but there is no smoke without fire, and I think there was a lot of smoke, and they knew full well he's the sort of guy who'd set on fire. So it's there's too many people coming out and criticizing the cliquey nature, and it's why I'm not a massive elite fan anymore. I feel like they might be cliquey at best and potentially bullies at worst.
Wow, it's of course leaning into quite a bit of AEW chat there, but it's an interesting few months ahead, like you say, with the CM Punk situation as well. And it seems like it's worked out well for Cody. You know, he's come over. I think he's from Brandy's tweet there, he is a bigger star than he's ever been, and that's kind of, in my opinion, undeniable.
Yes.
But it is funny looking back on the kind of, but he did book himself into a corner and all this stuff. So a little tinge of irony there. I'd be remiss not to mention that we will be covering Double or Nothing on this channel as well. So check us out. We'll be back tomorrow for our live build up. Of course, we're going to stick to some more WWE chat because that's what we're here now to do. Is of course get ourselves and yourselves hyped up for today's PLE with Night of Champions. So let's move into, I think the only one we haven't really touched that much so far, of course, is the Bloodline, or we've kind of renamed them now. Well, you have at least, Sam, Rolo, the team of Solo and Roman, versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Now, this I think is another kind of tough one to pick. Within our official predictions earlier on in the week, Dan, myself, Lucas, and Rob, we've all gone for KO and Sami Zayn. And on this channel, we've got this thing where we can use a bonus point as well, where you risk getting a bonus point as it sounds, but you also risk losing a point if you're wrong. And it's rare that we use a bonus point. It's rare that this ever done twice in a show or twice on the same match. 3 out of 4 of us have all used our bonus point to say the Usos will cost Roman Reigns and Solo as well. Now, whether that will be intentional, I don't know. But judging on what we saw last night, of course, on the Give Me a Whole Year SmackDown watch along, it was a very fiery way to end SmackDown as far as Jimmy Uso kind of being, hesitant to give over the titles. So I'm not sure if that fuels the fire for what I'm thinking, will happen, or if that kind of goes against it, because we've seen the descent last night. Are we going to see it again tonight? I think the only way to do it tonight is not, I don't think Night of Champions is the moment to have the Bloodline implode. I think it's a night to spread it out by the Usos accidentally, or so they appear to accidentally, and maybe they kind of play up to it in the future, cost them. But what do you think as far as how this goes? Are we seeing the Bloodline cost Rolo, Usos cost Rolo, or are Rolo coming out of this as champions?
I think it's getting really, really tense now. Like, the story's getting good again now, because they were spinning the wheels a little bit for a bit after Mania, and now like the tension is really ramping up. Like last night when Roman went, when we were kids, when I used to whoop you, and now I'll whoop you, and I'll still whoop you today. Like, my God, is he slappable? He's so bloody good.
Can't keep getting away with it, man. Can't keep getting away with it either.
And we're at the point, like a few weeks ago, before Mania, it was Jey Uso who was shaky about this. And Jimmy was the one going, no, come back into the fold. And Jey was like, Sami might be right. And now it's the other way around. Now Jey doesn't want to admit Sami might be right, but Jimmy is now the one getting angry. And the old wounds are soon going to open. The old wounds of Hell in a Cell, Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns, choking out Jimmy. Again, and let's not forget, Jimmy came back after injury furious at Roman, but shelved that beef because it was the right thing to do for their family. Now, though, those floodgates are opening. All the wounds are opening up again. And I think in this pay-per-view, or PLE, we need to see the wounds gushing blood. We need to see them open and festering now. We don't necessarily need them to completely turn on each other, but I love the idea of Rome, like them messing up, Roman pushing Jimmy, and Jimmy maybe pushing him back now.
Yeah.
And we're on. That's all we need. I want this. Like they could. There's a lot of places they could go if Roman wins, but I think it's a lot more fun to watch them implode. Now and watch everything go horribly wrong. That's what, but he's got to go through each of the Usos, doesn't he? He's got to. I think he's got to feud with Jimmy first and swat Jimmy aside like a gnat, because it's main event Jey Uso is the enemy. He's got to go for, and digging up that beef. But I think Jey also needs to come up short against Roman, and for Solo to maybe turn his back on Roman towards the end of Roman's run, maybe in the run up to WrestleMania, as we've talked about before. I think Roman's title needs to be ended by Cody, I think, when they come back together. And Roman needs to be alone without allies. He's pushed everyone away. At this point, he's a mangy dog, not a big dog. He's the mangy dog who needs to be put down, but he's not going down without one final fight. That is what I want to see from this story, because the ultimate good needs to win out, and the story needs to be behaving this way, behaving like a bully, being how Roman has been to his cousins. This isn't the way you do it. This isn't who you need to be. There's a lot of good storytelling they can do it. But anyway, I've nattered on.
No, it's all good stuff, man. And it's again kind of inspired me to come up with a new fantasy book in there as well, which I'll get to. But I think, like I say, that there's a few ways they can take it. Jimmy needs to feud with him. Jey feels like he needs to feud with him. Solo, and as we mentioned last night on the SmackDown stream, it's that moment. It's the Samoa spike or the super kick that we need to really be the kind of thing that ignites this as well. So I think we should get an accident here or something to that kind of flavor, really, and then eventually get one of those things. And I was just thinking, I wonder if there is a case for, maybe Roman politicking backstage has said, I want to lose this to Solo. That's who should be the meaningful kind of heir to the throne as far as the champ. But then I was like, oh my gosh, Solo and Cody's a thing. Maybe Cody. But then again, that means Solo's a baby face in there. So that doesn't quite tie up. But I guess they could figure something out like that. I'm not quite sure. But what I really liked about it, though, is, like you say, this kind of the moral of the story is it shouldn't work and you shouldn't get away with it. And we got the seeds kind of sown last night for that as well, with Sami in that brilliant spot of just going, see what's happening, Roman, this is you, like this is what you've done. And I thought that was really cool. And you mentioned it last night as well, but what we saw the other day of Roman accidentally bumping into Solo, it's really started to heat back up, it really has. And I do think they've been very fortunate, because some of these things I wanted the Jey Uso, come up a long time ago, and at the moment, and then I'm like, no, it's Sami that needs to end this. No, it's Cody that needs. So like they've been blessed with the amount of people and the amount of storylines and directions they could go in. I just hope it ends in the right way.
I'm of the view that the Sami storyline in many ways is told, because the Sami storyline got over so well, because we've all. At least most of us have been Sami Zayn at some point, or we've all had the insecurity of not fitting in, or we've wanted to be part of a certain group that we're not part of. Sami Zayn was like, "Oh, can I carry your bags?" and doing all that. He was a suck up, and he went from a pathetic suck up to a plucky little underdog to someone who was actually being openly abused, psychologically abused, and taking all the hits for them all. And it was eventually was the sympathy, and it was his moral compass that he rediscovered. But it was a story about belonging. It was a story about brotherhood. It was a story about friendship. Because Jey and Sami, I know they've been super kicking each other all over the show, but are friends. They want to be. But Jey is torn between what's going on with his family and things like that. But they will ride again, Sami Zayn and the Usos, I think. Like there will be a stable one day where the Usos come out with Sami. I think that is destined to happen again at some point. Maybe not anytime soon. But I think that's the end of that story. It doesn't need to be Sami Zayn taking the title off Roman. It was enough for Sami Zayn to stand up for himself against Roman and to take him to the limit. That was enough. He didn't need to win. He just needed to be the guy who stood up to a bully. And I think it's the same for the Usos. I think Jimmy needs to be a sacrificial lamb to spark the story between Jay and Roman again. Again, I think Roman needs to win. I think Solo needs to help Roman win. But I think Jay needs to look powerful in defeat. And Jay needs to be the one who says, if it weren't for my brother, I would have had you. You ain't the tribal chief. You ain't the tribal anything. You aren't the head of anything. You are. Sami was right. I can't wait for Jimmy to say the words. Jay to say the words. Sami was right.
Yeah.
And the crowd then chants it. Sami was right.
Yeah.
That is what I think this is building towards. Jay doesn't need to be the one to take the title off Roman. He just needs to get in Solo Sikoa's head, ready for when Roman comes back up against Cody, WrestleMania. Roman gives the signal to Solo Sikoa, who's conflicted, and Solo Sikoa jumps off the apron and goes, "No, if you're the head of the table, do it on your own. I'm done doing your dirty work. Prove you are what you are." And then obviously Cody beats Roman. That is what I'm hoping, because if they do all of this, I know this is just my booking. It's not exactly what they will do or they should do, but I think the loss at the WrestleMania just gone will be worth it then, and it'll make sense, because this is a storyline that has more months in it, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, we can go to next Mania with all of this. Of course, we can. They only ever move the story on incrementally every week by a little bit, so of course we can.
That's it. And like you say, like Mania was, nearly 2 months ago now, and they kept Roman off TV long enough to, we were all saying, this is going to drag. And then all of a sudden we're like, this is amazing. And now we're fantasy booking all these different poppable moments. There are so many certain turns, little nods, little kind of, super kicks or, and getting in people's ears. There are so many things that they can still do with this. And that is the beauty of this storyline. It's without a doubt been one of the best ever told, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it's not done. We've still
exactly. So part of me is like, Mania's a long way, but they could definitely do it. And just like we did with Cody just then, fantasy, but there is a way to make all of these things work out perfectly. And I really do hope that's where we're going with it, because it was hard to see that after WrestleMania. And I always say, sometimes Triple H has come out, and he did this in NXT years ago, like a few times he'd say, this will make sense in the future, and it never did. And I really hope this is one of those scenarios where we go, okay, he's right, this whole the story's never kind of fully over, and we're continuing. It'd be nice to see it that way as well. And then also, just before we kind of move away from the Bloodline stuff, but Sami Zayn, getting his moment by doing what he did against Roman, not winning the title. You're right, he doesn't need to win the title. JC doesn't need to win the title, but Sami Zayn potentially kind of getting the win here in Jeddah, I think is where we might be going with it, where Sami then gets his moment by maybe not pinning Roman, but pinning Solo at least, and the fans kind of pop for him as well. But it'd be interesting to see, because what do you think about the other side of that they do get the titles? Because I would have been up for it a few months ago, but I think it's such a sensitive situation with we're finally getting back around to this Bloodline stuff. The last thing we want to do is strap extra titles on top of him.
Right, yeah. So I've thought about that too. I've got a scenario in my head for that.
Go ahead, let's go.
So what they could do there is, let's imagine, because I think it's too soon to take them off Sami. I think it'd cheapen the victory we had at Mania, that amazing feel-good moment, and we then had a not-so-feel-good moment 24 hours later. But I think it'd cheapen that. But if they do go down that road, what we could do is, you've got Roman and Solo have now got the tag belts, and Roman is like, at the Usos, what do I need you two for now? I've done it on my own with Solo. And Solo has been the guy who helped me against McIntyre. He was the guy who helped me against Sami. He was the guy who helped me against Cody. I've got a Swiss Army Samoan knife right here. What do I need? And then the idea of, you are no longer main event Jey Uso. You are no longer the right-hand man. You're just one of the twins. And I don't even know which
I'll mix you up.
Well, do you remember when he said? He was saying to Jey, "You're just one of the Usos. You're just a twin. Yeah. Who cares even which one you are?" Do you remember when he was manipulating Jey? I'd love it to come full circle and him to go, "You're not any of the things you could have been. You're just just one of the Usos. That's all you'll ever be. Now get out of my locker room. I love the idea of him disowning the Usos and the Usos being dejected, disappearing for a while, or just cracking on, working their way up the card for a while before Roman says something else and they snap. Like, that is a way they could do it. And then maybe they take the belts off Solo and Roman. That is, to be fair, a way they could actually prolong this stuff even longer. They could keep this stuff going. So if there is, if what I fantasy booked earlier is a little bit too short, they could do it this way too, just as easily. And I actually think it'd just be just as good too. But one way or another, some of the stuff you've heard me saying today, some of that they're going to do. They are, because one thing I called, and I was called a madman for it, is people were always saying, the Bloodline are going to turn on Sami. The Bloodline are going to turn on Sami. And I remember thinking, no, Sami is going to turn on the Bloodline. He's going to get annihilated, but he's going to turn on the Bloodline because they make him do something so morally reprehensible that he just can't do it. I didn't see him hitting Roman with a chair. I just thought he'd do the honourable thing and be like, I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
And then that leads to the super kick, rather than him just going, you know what? Well, this is wrestling, so chair, Roman.
You need the moment. It was a fantastic moment as well, and kind of, fan driven as well. And we talked about it a little bit last night, but of course, this fan press conference they did, Andy was saying, this LA Night chat, and when you guys were in WrestleMania, he was the guy people were cheering for. He wasn't put on the Mania cards. He didn't even win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal match. Now there are rumors, just like they were at WrestleMania, that he's going to be shoehorned onto this card. Do you think that's going to happen? And if so, what do you do? Like, who do you put him on with?
See, there's several rumors we heard at Mania. Like, one was Bray Wyatt's coming back. One was Lashley's, or Bray Wyatt might do something, or Lashley might do an open challenge, and it'll be LA Knight who comes out and does it. That would have been great, even if it'd been a squash match. LA Knight cuts a promo, slags off Lashley. Lashley just kills him in 2 moves. That would have been enough. And they still didn't even do that. So now I think, like, the first thing that happened at that press conference is they chanted LA Knight. And Triple H was a little bit thrown by it. And it's like, how are you thrown by this? How are you, like, everybody else isn't? What? Yeah. Are you watching your own product? Are you listening to your own fans? Why are you surprised? Do you know, I would have done if I was Triple H when they started chanting LA Knight. I would have gone, yeah. But then he was like, oh, no. I've got my corporate spiel to go through. Please do be quiet and cheer when I tell you to be quiet, and do the cheers I want you to do. That's just WWE all over, isn't it? That no, don't be organic. We'll stick to the script, please, guys. Stick to the script. I don't think they're going to give it us. I think they're going to discuss it, and whatever caused them to not do that at Mania is going to cause them to not do it here, because even without Vince McMahon, it seems no one gets over without WWE's permission, unless the big hand goes, you're not allowed to go over.
Yeah, and like you say, whatever held them back at Mania, I think is the same thing, unless something's changed since then. And I think it's also the thing that holds the rumor back of him winning Money in the Bank. He seems like the obvious winner for Money in the Bank for many, myself included. But I just fear that that's not the case. I feel that we're living in 2 different universes here, as far as the way the fans perceive him and the way WWE perceive him, because otherwise they would have done something else with him. So I feel like they see potential in him, but I don't think they see him as right now. And I think it's quite reminiscent of the Daniel Bryan situation. Like it was only because like John Cena kind of felt like he had to acknowledge the yes chants and stuff like that. And, we had a few things like that in WWE with Daniel Bryan. Or Bryan Danielson, as I guess, as he's been known as again these days. But yeah, it's like you say, unless they kind of select you, it ain't happening. Like, and another example of that WrestleMania crowd, as Andy mentioned last night, is Fandango as well. They were forced into the Fandango situation. Yeah, don't get me wrong, they wanted to push him. That's why they put him in the match against Chris Jericho, and they gave him a gimmick. But he got over despite of his gimmick. Like we clung on to that in a way that fans shouldn't have clung on to that. We were like, you know what, we're going to make something out of this, not you, and we're going to make it something different. And WWE were forced to do that. They eventually went back to what this ballroom character was always supposed to be, and they didn't let it kind of organically grow the way it was going. But I think that's one of my earliest kind of examples of this happening. I wouldn't say Fandango and yes, the yes movement are the same things, but it's quite similar in the sense that this is when fans take control and they tell you who they want to be pushed. And WWE just needs to kind of act on it with LA Knight, otherwise they're missing the great opportunity.
It's the same with Kofi Kingston. They leaned into, like, they were reluctant to do it. Then they eventually did it. They leaned into the Kofi Mania thing, but they could not wait to pull the rug from under him. As soon as it cooled off, like, thank God they haven't done that with Sami. And look, the greatest success. Like, I'm not saying you should listen to the fans all of the time. You have to swerve the fans. You have to send them home pissed off sometimes. There's stuff you've got to. You can't just give in to the fans every whim, because it'll soon become very, very boring and chaotic. So, but you got to lean in sometimes too, and like just like Kofi was another. Like they listened, but they couldn't wait to destroy him again, and send him back. But what have we learned is with from Roman Reigns, which is the fans are saying turn him heel, and you might have, we're not booing him as a face. Turn the guy heel. And what happened when they turned him heel? The greatest story ever. One of the greatest heel champions ever.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns as a heel. Thank God it took so long to happen, because the time was right when it happened. And I was going to say the fans also got an appreciation of him when they nearly lost him, when he got poorly. You know, like we were talking about this last night, weren't we? Like he came out down the ramp, revealed his illness, because he came out to booze. No one was booing him when he walked back out. And I'm not saying we need that sort of thing to happen, but the wrestling fans realized that, hang on, this is a human being.
Person, yeah.
And then WWE realized later, wow, the fans do recognize Roman Reigns as a human being. They don't hate him. Okay, maybe
it's the presentation that they maybe don't like, you know. Like,
let's turn him heel. Let's do what they've suggested. Let's give the fans the Roman Reigns they want, because they're more than happy to. And do you remember he came back and he goes, you know, I'm in remission, y'all. Even I was like emotional from that. Even I was so happy to have him back. I was only watching on TV. My wife was like, "Pull yourself together," and I was like, "No." I said, "It's." I'm so happy he's okay. But now I thought, blimey, they're never going to boo him again
unless they were wise to do it. Like, you know, like they kind of, I guess, somewhat did realize what the fans were, because they were given that grace period of he come back and he had the sympathy, and we were like, look, he's not really my cup of tea, but I'm cheering the fact that he's back, you know. And it went into that WrestleMania against Drew at 35 as well, so it wasn't the biggest program, it wasn't the most exciting thing, but I remember being there thinking, I'm cheering you on for the first time because I'm just so glad of the real life story. And then when we were ready, they went, now we're going to turn him heel, and it was
when they turned him heel, he came out, he attacked Strowman, he attacked Wyatt. He looked $1 million. They changed his outfit, got rid of the stupid vest. He was in a black t-shirt, his jeans. He looked like
it looks huge as well. Like,
ripping out of it. It looked like bloody Aquaman on. Anyway, and I remember just thinking, yes, this guy. Now you're going to be a star, Roman. You're already a star, but you're about to enter the Rock's territory or that sort. And look where we are now. Like
better than I think it could have ever been imagined as well. I think it's been so much better.
It's been like that. The Sami Zayn turning on them thing, like left in the ring with the petals everywhere. That visual, that was one of the best 10 minutes of TV I've seen in years. It was just brilliant. Shakespearean. It was so good.
Mate, a lot of people said that, and even with Jay, a lot of people have said like Jay needs to be knocking on the door for Hollywoods for some of his performances. I know he's cracked, and that's been part of the fun as well. Sometimes on camera, he's been laughing. In the and stuff like that. But like we're all in on it, and it reminds me of what you said earlier on as well about like Sami being accepted. Like they were a heel stable, but we all were like booing them out of respect, like we do with Roman, I feel, and it was like, we want it to work out for Sami, but we know eventually it's going to fall apart. I'm going to quickly get to a comment here from Paulie Mercer, who says, WWE should start Night of Champions with a tribute to Tina Turner with You Simply the Best. I don't see it happening. Tina Turner, of course, a huge loss to the world of entertainment recently, an incredible star. And a lot of the WWE talent and throughout wrestling really kind of throw their tributes at it. So I wouldn't be surprised, because she's had no real tie to WWE. I don't think she's ever had an appearance or anything like that. One of those kind of people that sang national anthem. I wouldn't be surprised if someone particularly a female wrestler maybe came out with a gear that kind of was a nice little nod. Usually I'd pick someone like Bianca because she makes her own gear.
Yes.
Charlotte, who I think coined her as the queen or something like that the other day. Quite a similar kind of approach as far as this kind of over the top woman theatrical thing that Tina Turner kind of gave across this incredible talent. And I think Charlotte's in the same vein of that powerful women type situation. So I won't be surprised if individuals kind of pay tribute to her, but I doubt WWE themselves. They barely pay tribute, and that's changed. To be fair, I got to be fair there. They barely in the past paid tribute to people that were within their company. So at some point, but that has changed lately.
They are getting better, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and non-WWE stuff. I mean, look how they were about Jay Briscoe, which was such an incredible thing to see them do as well. So that was a nice little touch there.
Heartfelt as well because they did it live during an episode of NXT as well. They got the news while NXT was on. And it was Vic Joseph. It was just like, guys, we just had really, really sad news from, because wrestling is a community. Whether you're in WWE, AEW, New Japan, it is a community, and it is like Vince McMahon can say like push against it all he wants, or the WWE only guys can push against it, or the AEW only guys. But it's all linked. It's all linked. I don't care who owns what. It absolutely is. There's no getting away from it. It's why I hate tribalism in wrestling so much. Because
these guys are mates. You know what I mean? It was the same.
Yes.
Have we not learned from these documentaries where people are like, our friends were over there? Yeah, some of them we hated, like we want to work against. We didn't like the way they disrespected our characters, like poking fun or whatever. But for the most part, these guys come up together and work in different companies. And I think Jay Briscoe was a great, example of that, because you saw all these guys who were openly saying like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the Briscoes and whatever, Kevin Owens and people like that. And then you got the opposite side of AEW. And then there's people in Impact who feel the same way. And of course, Ring of Honor, there's huge ties between the Briscoe brothers there as well. So yeah, like you say, it just kind of reminds us that we are all one big community. And as Pauline says there, even within entertainment, it's you draw your kind of inspirations from all over the place. I remember a few years ago when Nakamura was heavily compared to Michael Jackson and meets Freddie Mercury as a Japanese wrestler. And I was like, I'm all for it, So
sign me up immediately.
Exactly
Rick Boogs, I said last night, didn't I? Rick Boogs is Freddie Mercury with the aspect ratio changed. I said that yesterday. I remember a story that warmed my cockles, which is in it was WrestleMania. Was it 33? It was the one in New Orleans. Where Undertaker retired. Came out of retirement. Sorry, came out of retirement. I remember hearing a story it was just, I think, the night before Mania. The WWE guys are in the hotel bar, a bit jet lagged, a bit knackered, just trying to just soldier on, having a few drinks. And then the door opens and another busload of people turns up, and it's the Impact roster. And apparently there's a big cheer from both sides.
Yeah.
And they all then have a drink together. And I remember thinking, I believe that, because a lot of them are friends, they're colleagues, they've worked together. It's so. There'll be some fans going, no, I bet they all just started smacking each other. No, they didn't.
Yeah,
they all just had shots together. That's what they
exactly
did.
Yeah.
And the same thing would happen with the AEW and WWE guys as well. The exact same thing.
It's a reason why people like Adam Cole find it so hard to decide where to go. He's got mates on both sides, so. Yeah, it is mad, this whole tribalism and stuff like that. Got comments here from Gujarati saying hi and want to know who's winning between Roman and KO. We've touched on this match a bit already, but we all pretty much, just a little bit. We think that. Well, I didn't get your full answer. I assume it's the same as me, where you think Sami and KO were going to come away with it.
Yeah, I get I think I've had to see both scenarios.
But what do you think's happening?
I think. See, now the other one, I've talked myself out of it. I think Sami is retaining, because I think there's homecoming's the wrong term to use.
Yeah,
but I think with Sami finally turning up in Saudi Arabia, and the reception to him has been really, really positive. Because Ant and I were quite worried that it wasn't going to be, and then we watched the press conference, and the crowd loved him. So if that crowd loved him, and I know they're a smarky crowd because it's a press conference and they might not be as smarky in the stadium. But I think Sami Zayn's going to get an ovation. I think they're going to be really happy to see him because the average fans might not really care about politics. They just see a wrestler they love who shares their religion, shares a lot of their values. They want to cheer. They want to cheer him. I think WWE know that. I think Saudi Arabia knows that. So maybe, and it's probably too early for them to lose the titles. So I think Sami and KO are winning Gujarati. I think. But again, I could be wrong because I fantasy booked it for both sides, and I don't care which one they do. But we have no inside information, by the way. We have nothing at all. We know as much as you do.
Indeed. But I mean, touching on the Sami thing, a few weeks ago, I remember being on this channel adamant that, oh my gosh, they must be losing the titles early. Like you said, it's a bit of a fear if they lose it now. I was fearful they were going to lose them about 3 weeks ago because I was like, Sami ain't going. I wasn't really aware of the kind of political landscape and how things had changed. And even when I started to hear rumors of it, I was like, I don't know if he's going to be all right out there. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't really know the depths of it. But seeing that Sami went, seeing Sami's journey on social media and how much love he's been shown and showing them for accepting him and stuff like that, it was an incredible moment when he come out and Kevin Owens warmed him up and warmed the fans up for him to come out. And I think we're going to see the same here. And we saw that last year. And I think a lot of people were shocked there as well when they had the press conference against Logan Paul and the fans were chanting then for Sami Zayn. So it's kind of been building. And look, like you say, like, I know there are going to be people in the world who can't see past certain things and won't allow themselves to enjoy a certain character or whatever else because of maybe political or religious beliefs and whatever else. But what we've got here is a real organic superstar that has blossomed over the past year, that the wrestling world, that Saudi fans would have been sitting at home just like we were at the Royal Rumble and going into Elimination Chamber thinking this guy is like the man. He needs to, we're all thinking, is he going to win the title? The Saudi fans would have been on that journey as well. So it's time for them to give him his flowers. And I think that's what we're getting. And I do think that plays into this kind of whole Sami winning thing, which is wild because again, a few weeks ago I was like, he ain't even gonna be there. So now I'm like, he's gonna win there. Like, it is kind of strange how we've kind of turned around on this one.
Yeah, it's the Sunni and the Sunni and the Shia Muslim thing. But for example, I've got mates who are Shia Muslims and I've got mates who are Sunni Muslims, and they're mates with each other. They're just English guys who happen to be Muslims following two different versions of that. And do you know what they care about? Dinner on the table. What's on TV tonight? Is the petrol in the car? They care about the same things we do. And a lot of the crowd in Saudi Arabia there are going to be exactly the same. They care more about their passion for wrestling. I'm not saying they prefer wrestling to their religion or prioritize. Of course they don't. But the idea that they can't watch or be friends with someone from another religion or even another version of their own is ridiculous. Like these guys I'm referencing here, I won't say their names, but these guys I'm referencing here, I'm an atheist. They're mates with me. They have mates who are Christians. It's most people in this world are like that. Yeah. They are tolerant and they are happy and they're accepting of other people, and we get. It's the diversity that makes us so special and makes us so interesting as a race, as a species, and it's the same here. Sami Zayn is just another dude. He's an awesome wrestler, regardless. Like, I don't share his religious beliefs, and I adore him. There you go. It's the same over there. The only difference over there is that and their politics are blended. Where somewhere in the UK we struggle to understand that because we are a secular nation, built on I suppose a Christian foundation. I suppose in many ways we're all cultural Christians, even if we're not Christians like me. I'm an atheist, but I'm absolutely a cultural Christian. It's where a lot of my values and things come from. Yeah. So, but the idea that all that gets in the way, it only ever goes to a point. And the minute they sorted that out politically, the minute Sami was over there, and he was gracious. He went out and he was happy to be there. And did you see him in front of the crowd? It was lovely. It was very nice, wasn't it? Yeah. Like, there's things about their regime I don't like. There's probably things about the regime Sami Zayn doesn't like, but it's a bloody wrestling show in front of wrestling fans. Yeah. That's what matters. Let's leave the politics where it belongs, and let's just enjoy the wrestling.
And I think the fans deserve it. I think the loyal fans, I think it was easy when they first started going there to jump on the jokes about how, like, you know, people wanted Yokozuna and all this kind of stuff. But that's not the same people, you know, of those sitting in the seats, you know, like, you know, we mentioned yesterday, you get all the dignitaries sitting in the front and stuff like that. It does work a little bit different there. But ultimately, these are wrestling fans, just like we are. When we, you know, can't wait for Money in the Bank to get here. And we're like, yeah. Now, I remember when Roman first came over here and, well, when they were coming back over, and I was like, I just need to see Roman. Like, I need to see Roman in this new version of Roman. Like, and those guys are going to be the same. And this is the first time they're ever going to see Sami Zayn as well. And they say, and the last one is the last night for the Bloodline, throwing up the ones there as well. Yeah, we were saying earlier on, Gujarati, that I don't think this is the end of the Bloodline, but I do think we're kind of slowly edging our way there. And I think that you can't have that. As much as I've just put over the crowd in Saudi Arabia in this event, I don't think this is the place all the time to have the big pop. It needs to be at a SummerSlam or something like that.
Also, Gujarati, the kettle is boiling over, but it's not whistling yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a ton of steam coming out of it, but we're not at that point just yet. Are we going to get there tonight? I think we're going to get close. There might be something big going down tonight. And to be fair, like, they're at the point now where they're pushing each other and stuff. Like, something's they have to capitalize on that soon. Maybe they do capitalize on it tonight. Like, tonight could be the last night. But I don't think this is the night they're going to start fighting, and a lot needs to happen before they have a match with each other. But this might finally be. There will be. I've said every week on SmackDown, I've graded SmackDown every week based on how this story progresses. And if it doesn't progress at all, I'm not happy. If it progresses just a little bit, that's all I need. I just need a taste every week to keep me coming back. And I think tonight
they've done really well. Yeah, lately they've done it really well. And yeah, I think tonight is that. And I think what will be interesting, of course, is this 1,000-day thing. I thought we were going to get a free count on the day. Boom, he's going to 1,001. There we go. It's official sort of thing. You know, that's what I thought we were getting today, and we're not. So it's interesting that they've not used the titles, of course, because they're telling a different story for now, it seems, and that kind of gives the titles a bit of a breathing. Hopefully, a focus on the world heavyweight, as we mentioned earlier on. But from SmackDown, they've kind of hinted that there will be a kind of celebration or something like that, I guess, next week. Can we really go into a celebration where not all is well? You know, like, maybe they do get the Usos helping, because they kind of need to, otherwise they need to start the celebrations with, what was that about? And that's I'm not sure, because even said in the backstage to promo, I want all the family there. So it'll be interesting to see if they could kind of get away with it. Maybe that's kind of squashed everything, and the Usos will actually help because something different, and they'll edge it out over there instead. So that's the only kind of spanner in the works for me.
I see it going two ways, that celebration. I think it's got to be full of tension no matter what happens. I don't think they can go back to the whole everything's okay now, because they've done that. They've done everything is not okay. I don't think there's any going back. I think that celebration either needs to begin with, you cost us, what you did cost us, or I think it needs to be, we won the titles, we don't need you. This is our celebration. Like we said before. So it's a celebration, but do you know what? Off your pop. Like I said before, I've got, you know, this Samoan, you know, smashing machine here of Solo Sikoa. He's worth, you know, him alone is better than either of you Usos. So if I can see, if they win, I can see them doing that. I can see the Usos being booted out of the Bloodline, just like Sami Zayn was, you know, or do you remember when we all thought they were going to actually kick Sami Zayn out? We never quite got that because it went another direction. I think if they win, if Roman wins, we could get that now. Because like if Sami and Kevin lose, they could go off and do different things. And Sami could say, look, guys, we've lost the belts, but you're now in the same boat as us. Yeah, and you know,
it's where it's kind of done. He can see the threads are kind of coming loose as well, so he could kind of say that as well. I killed the Bloodline, whatever. But then also this kind of, if we go into a 1,000-day celebration with the Usos accidentally costing, then the Usos could be in the background, like, yeah, we're fine, and then Roman can turn and go, hold on a minute, you think I weren't going to talk about that? Like he did after WrestleMania when he came back a little while ago. You know, it's like, you think we weren't going to talk about that? Because I think that's the best way to do it, is an accidental costing. and then we'll see kind of where we go from there. Because otherwise, it is awkward to start on this kind of I'm so furious, and like them blatantly being against each other. It would be a bit odd. So, and it's kind of reminiscent of Raw 30 when we were kind of leading towards Mania, and Sami was kind of questioned, in almost a court of law scenario, so maybe the kind of 1,000-day celebration turns into the grilling of the Usos, really.
100%. I think it has to. I said either way, if Roman or Solo win or lose, the reason my blinds are going nuts is I have a little dog who's causing trouble down there.
Nice.
But
what's your dog's name? What's your dog's name?
Well, there's a bunch of them in this house.
Oh, wow.
This is Finley. Finley, come here. Finley. He's been on stream before.
They covered it. Superstar. Be used to the camera.
Come here. Good boy. Oh, good lad. Good lad.
Part of me thinks you're picking up Fit Finley here. Oh, no, you're not. Here we go. Oh, what a beauty.
Jess had Finn Balor in mind, didn't she? I think when she named you. But yeah, Finley is... Wrestling is absolutely part of his heritage.
That makes sense, yeah.
Isn't it?
Beautiful.
Oh, what are you doing? Who's winning, Roman or KO with Sami? What do you reckon? He says, I don't care. Finn Balor's not on the card.
It says, I'm the real big dog round here. There we go.
No, the big dog's in there asleep on the couch. Oh, go on. You're going down. What are you doing? He's off.
There we go. You nearly lost your headphones as well.
I know, yeah. I had to quickly hold the wire because I knew he was going to yank him. I was going to get his foot over him. There we go. So we've had a Finley cameo.
Love it.
What time are the boys joining us?
I'm not sure. I think Dom was going to join us at 5. And Andy, I think, was having some problems with his signal. So hopefully we're going to get him on soon as well. But I appreciate if you need to jump, that's fine, mate. I can take the reins from here. Appreciate you coming on either way. But yeah, once again, if you want to kind of follow Sam, as we mentioned earlier on, I'll bring it up just on the bottom here. No, that's our one. Where are we? We got our guests on. Here we go. At Sam Smith _1987. But Sam, once again, thanks for coming on, mate. And tell the people where they can find you other than the Twitter account we're seeing scrolling through the bottom there.
I was going to say that, not that I'm trying to, nick viewers away from Scott and the guys in an hour's time when it begins. But we're doing Give Me a Juliera, doing a watch along as well for the pay-per-view in an hour's time. Give Me a Juliera. I imagine we'll be writing it up on WrestleSphere as well. So Give Me a Juliera is our podcast. WrestleSphere is, well, it's on my back, isn't it? It's the logo. WrestleSphere is our more journalistic endeavor. But we do all our live streams and chats on Give Me a Juliera. So that'll be fun. Technically, they're not affiliated, even though they have some of the same hosts and writers and such. But yeah, thank you for having me, Scott. Are you all right going solo for 10 minutes or whatever while we're waiting for the boys?
I'm good, mate.
You're going to take a break?
Yeah, I'll be here. Don't you worry. But yeah, thanks again for joining me. And as Sam said, he's going live on Give Me a Whole Year in a moment. We're going to be live via Watch Along as well, but we'd appreciate if you channel hop like they did back for Raw and Nitro and give us both a bit of love if you don't mind doing so. But once again, thank you, Sam, so much for coming on, and looking forward to chatting wrestling with you again, mate.
Cheers. Channel hopping. He must be joking. What I did is I watched one on Channel 5. And we ran around my friend's house and watched the other one on Sky. Like even during the Monday Night War when we were kids, we didn't do tribalism. I didn't want to live in a world where I couldn't watch Sting beat up the NWO with a baseball bat and Stone Cold give Vince McMahon a stunner. I did not want to live in a world where I couldn't see those two things.
This is the thing. A lot of young fans don't realize. Many of us have been through this before, and we enjoyed it. It was about kind of getting the best of both worlds. Yeah, we had our favorites, and the war ended in the end. But come on, wrestling's a better place for competition. But yeah. Thanks again, Sam. And what we do, actually, we'll tag you out by tagging in your co-host from Give Me a Whole Year. Of course, we've got Dom in the house now.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Nice to see you.
How are we doing? Dom, I'm going to go and walk the dogs, mate. Walk the dogs. And I'll see you on our stream in an hour.
Yeah, cool, man. I will see you at about 1:45, yeah?
Yeah,
nice
cool.
One.
All right, then. I'll go get me tea and walk the dogs. See you in a bit, guys.
All right, mate.
Cheers,
Thanks,
mate. Thanks, Sam.
Take it easy. Bye.
Dom, how you doing, mate?
Man.
Good to see you back on the channel.
It's always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure. Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. It was, it's lovely to be to the sun. The sun is shining. Everything.
You're looking
is good.
fresh, man. You're looking fresh.
Well, it's it's early afternoon, effectively mid-afternoon. So it's different. It's different. It hits different, as they say. Doing a live stream at this time. So I feel good. I'm excited. I've been thinking about this card since we did our stream over on Wrestling Royalty with Andy last night. I'm more excited about this now that I'm looking at the sort of potential dream match type vibes. We've got AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, even Mustafa Ali and Gunther. And obviously, having the opportunity to speak to Mustafa a couple of, just over a week ago now, and seeing his impassioned promos has made me think not that he's going to win the match, but it's going to be very much the match of Mustafa Ali's career and potentially the match of the night with Gunther. And obviously the big question mark is, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa as potential tag team champions. Dude, this is actually quite tasty as a premium live event, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot to kind of be excited about. A lot of possible scenarios as far as where we go in with a lot of these matches and storylines. Me and Sam have just been fantasy booking quite a bit for the Bloodline, for Cody. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on those as well. We've got Gujarati still with us, tuning in from India. Says, nice to meet you as well. And also, I'm guessing here to Sam before he popped off was thanks for the information. Yeah, it's great to have Sam on here as well. And now we've got, again, his co-host from the Give Me a Whole Year channel and, of course, WrestleSphere as well in Dom. Great to see you again, mate. We're going to run through some of the card and some of the kind of big talking points. Where are you from, brother? I'm from London, England myself. And Dom, I don't want to speak for you, but the clue's in your podcast name. Where are you from?
It is. I'm from Hull in East Yorkshire, mate, and it's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to have you come and join us on this stream. We love it. We love it having the community and people joining us. It's awesome. I mean, I love coming onto these streams. Scott, you're talking about me looking fresh. You're there in your vest top and your tank top. You're enjoying the summer vibes. Is that an NWO Wolfpack?
It is. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I like this bit. Let me show you that bit. Look at that. Oh, that's cool, isn't it?
That's amazing.
I'll do a full fashion show for you. On my back, got a little wolf action. I think.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, all right. Let's get into let's move away from the fashion show. It's always good to talk fashion on these streams as well. But let's talk about the card itself. You mentioned there, of course, Mustafa Ali and Gunther. A few things I want to touch on just briefly. Just now, Gujarati was telling he's from India. And Saudi, of course, are getting a show here where we have not a Saudi Arabian representative, but of course an Asian representative. And I do think that's what's going on here, as you said earlier on. If anything, this is his moment and a great kind of not hometown, but it's the same as when Sheamus is in London and he's from this side of the ocean, at least, it's kind of the way they book him when he's over here as well. It would be cool to see him get his moment as far as like it be believable we could do it, but I think Gunther needs to continue. But there's the other side of this, Dom, that you might have heard recently, and we discussed a little bit earlier on with Dan and with Sam, but there's rumors that he's going to be taken out of this match and Riddle's going to replace him. I don't know how much weight is in these rumors, but I really hope that's not the case.
Yeah, that would be totally. I'm gonna be controversial here. That would be wholly inappropriate. Riddle is a great star, and I understand why they want to strap the rocket to Riddle. But given the context of the situation, where we are, Saudi Arabia, Ali's impassioned promos about representation, about the fact that he looks. He has the same name as a lot of those people in that crowd. It would be wholly inappropriate for them not to take advantage of Ali's popularity heading into this pay-per-view, really, and PLE. And I also think it's a coming out moment for Ali. I think this is potentially a momentum builder for him going forward too. And anything like that, where you have Riddle, if you were to have Riddle come in here just for the sake of it, that's a real that's going to be a real problem, I think. And I think a lot of people would be quite outraged, specifically Scott, the Saudi crowd and those those who are feeling Ali's promos at the moment about that representation, about that diversity. And if you put Riddle in there, all that isn't that then becomes irrelevant.
Yeah,
is it not?
exactly. Yeah, I mean they've pulled this trick before, but now ain't the time to do it, is it? It's not just about someone being over and missing their opportunity. It's about, like you say, representation and where we are in the world. And again, I never expected Zelina to win, but I love the fact she got that moment. Again, I know Mustafa Ali isn't from Saudi Arabia, but again, it's still a story of representation. Good Shirati wants to know our Instagram ID. So what I'll do here is I'll bring up this is our Twitter handle just underneath there, good to right, if you can see that, at RM Pro Wrestling, and we are the same on Instagram. And I'll leave it out there for just a moment. Dom, do you want to throw your one out there? I'm also going to send up our little banner for everyone that's joined us as far as guests tonight. But do you have somewhere to send him on Instagram?
Yeah, of course, mate. Of course. So there's a comment in the chat now that I've just sent, just so you guys can see. It's called "Gimme a Whole Yeah." So GIMME, and then a whole yeah. So if you just type that in, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. I believe we do have a TikTok now as well. So you can you can find us across the board really if you want to. So yeah, no, you know, we'd be more than happy to see you over there for sure.
Perfect. All right. And we've got Chico727 who wants to know how you're doing today. I'm doing great, mate. All the better for having your comments. I much appreciate you dropping that in here as well. Trying to find out what time the show starts. So I'm not sure where you are in the world, but for us, it starts at 6 o'clock, which is in 51 minutes. So wherever that is where you are, 51 minutes away, we're going to be kicking off. And again, it's a nice time for us here in the UK to watch it at 6 p.m. Can you believe it, Dom? What a time. What time as well, because we've got Sludge Sports back in the house as well. Thank you so much for coming back and joining us, mate. Always love hearing what you think about the shows that we are previewing. Of course, the idea of the build-up shows to get yourselves and ourselves hyped up for the big event. And then beyond that, tonight as well, it's a rare thing for us on this channel because we're usually kind of trying to watch it early in the hours. But I know it's something that Dom's team are very dedicated to, and that's watch along. So we'll be doing a watch along this time around because it is at a reasonable time for us. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention still Give Me a Whole Yeah and all their great work over there and the watch along they'll be doing as well. So as I've been saying with Sam tonight, if you're going to channel hop, we'd appreciate that. And also we'll have the instant reaction straight after the PLE as well. So stick with us right on this channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you're not new here, you've been a few times, you know how it works. But if you haven't subscribed, come on, mate. Press that big, beautiful red button as well. So, Dom, let's get back onto the card in a little bit more detail. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this match. Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus, simply because we're finally getting a match that doesn't involve a title and is a grudge match. And that's what I'm excited about this match for. I don't think this is the card for it because, as we mentioned a few times last night, maybe Night of Champions should just be title matches. But still, big fight feel. And I appreciate that about it. What are you thinking about this? And where do you see it going as well? Because I feel this is a kind of a hard one to predict if you don't know what Trish's contract situation is.
Yeah, it's a very good point you make there, Scott. And I think that, you know, I understand why this is on this card. Trish Stratus is obviously notable for the old, you know, the older era, the Attitude Era, etc. and beyond. A lot of Saudi fans and those lapsed fans that are perhaps, you know, just getting back into wrestling, or, you know, big fans will know Trish Stratus. The name value is there. They need that name value. That's what they've gone for pretty much every year they've done Saudi. They've had a name there. Goldberg, of course, is your classic example, rightly or wrongly. The Undertaker as well. So Trish Stratus does that in a time when Saudi, or at least claiming, and people are claiming that Saudi is trying its best to become more diverse and more you know, more inclusive across the board, and that's great. And if that is the case, fantastic. And Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch on a wider level are a great opportunity for you know, for female wrestlers to be showcased there. Hopefully towards the top of the card, you know, because again, it's a dream match. This has classic wrestling fans. This will have classic wrestling fans. This will have wrestling fans of our age, you know, sort of you know, late 20s, 30s, you know, into 40s and stuff. This is the sort of stuff that we dream about, you know, and we dreamt about when we were kids. You know, not obviously Becky Lynch wasn't around back then, but it's certainly the type of thing we've been dreaming about, or certainly I have been dreaming about for many years, to see these, you know, the sort of feuds you would only put on 2K. You know, the only, you know, you would put 2K, you'd put Becky Lynch, you'd put Trish Stratus, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But now we're seeing it in Saudi Arabia. and obviously there are numerous conversations to have, wider, more serious conversations to have about what the implications of that will be in terms of representation going forward, and how female, and non-binary performers, for example, are represented in Saudi Arabia, and that is a great conversation and one that should be had going forward. But Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch are the perfect representation of where I believe WWE wants things to go, and where I hope Saudi are willing and ready to let them take it there, if that makes sense.
And even within the WWE landscape, as I said, it's great to see. We've got title matches. Yes, Natalia's kind of been around for a while. She's a veteran, but she's facing Rhea, someone of the future, and today. And then on the other side of that, Bianca, and again, Asuka, who's been around for a while. It's a great representation of women across the board here, and it's a great place to do it. Back in the day when they first went there, no women's matches, and it is progress. And yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And you and I have had conversations about this as well, in our own time. I think that, again, that is key, and that is core to the message that WWE is trying to convey, and more, and obviously, crucially, Saudi are allowing to be conveyed and interested in conveying is that representation is key. Women's wrestling is at the forefront of sports entertainment. Talents like Becky Lynch are global superstars and have been for decades in other parts of the world, and will continue to be. So if Becky Lynch and if Trish Stratus are a part of that, I know this has been a buzzword WWE have used, so I use it carefully, but the revolution leading to more and more women's matches across the board, more and more perhaps non-binary representation, for example, in Saudi, then for me personally, that is a wonderful thing, and I want to see more of that. And so I applaud those who do talk about Saudi as a more progressive place. I applaud that, and I also applaud WWE for making this happen, and crucially, the performers themselves. Because obviously we're not just talking about Becky Lynch, we're not just talking about Trish Stratus, we're talking about everybody that's come before over the last 2, 3, 4 years who've been doing this stuff. I believe, was it Sasha and Bianca were the first ones? I can't remember who. Was it
I remember. I can't remember who the first was. I remember early on we did have a Natalia, and was there a what's her name? Lacey Evans, I think, had a match.
Lacey Evans
as well.
Yeah. So obviously, anybody in the chat wants to correct, that's absolutely fine. Because, but what I'm trying to say is, it's been 2, 3, 4 years. Saudi have been making this stuff happen. WWE have been making this stuff happen. So let's see more of it. Let's see more of it. Is what I'm trying to say.
Definitely. And getting on to the match itself, Sludge says, what the rules of grudge match? Never heard of that. Yeah, so sorry, what I mean by that is it's not an actual match type. I just mean that they have a grudge against each other. They're in a feud, and it doesn't need to be about the title, which is quite refreshing. Becky being the champion all the time, any of those 4 horsewomen, as much as I love them, it can get a bit risky as far as getting stale. So it's nice to see an actual kind of feud where the reason why they're fighting, just like we get in the men's division, is because they don't like each other, and that's good enough for me. It doesn't always have to be about the title.
Yeah, there is a story there, of course. And it's a story do we really like to tell a lot, and it works. It works, in terms of classic storytelling. The old guard versus the new. The old guard claiming and perhaps proving in Trish's case that they can still go and match with the new guard, and so I think it's an absolutely mouth-watering feud, and for it to be taking place in Saudi is the icing on the cake. Like I say, I hadn't, I was pretty tired yesterday. I had a long day, and we came onto Andy's stream over on Wrestling Royalty, and it hadn't quite hit me the significance of Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, the old and the new, the past and the present taking place in Saudi Arabia. Also, there's so many other elements to this card, and obviously we'll talk a bit more about those. But for this particular match, I think it means a lot more than people realize.
Yeah, I said when I was chatting to the other guys earlier on, I'm happy for Rebecca Quinn here. The girl that gets to grow up watching Trish Stratus and then thinks, hold on, I'm like facing it. And it feels weird because it feels like it should be on a SummerSlam or something like that. But hey, maybe that's where we're going in the future. But quickly get to Chico's comment, just clarifying, Chico is in America. So for us, of course, it's 6 o'clock for you. Depending on where you are, I know 1 o'clock was the time they were promoting for one of your time zones over there. So it should be not long now. Of course, we're 40 minutes away, about 43 minutes away. We've got the kickoff show as well. So we hope to be your accompany be accompanying kind of entertainment alongside the kickoff show. At the moment, they're just having a chat. Doesn't seem like they're going to have a match on it, but we'll see. We'll keep you updated if that is the case as well. But let's get into some more of the matches here as well, Dom. Let's move on to let's talk a little bit about the title match. Now, we talked about this quite in depth earlier on, so I'm going to just let you take the space here, but I'll give you a little bit of a kind of briefing as to what we were actually chatting about. Rumors that this is going on first, and the rumors for that are, I guess, plentiful. The big one at the moment is that it could be something to do with Seth having to apparently go off and shoot a film. I'm not sure if I buy that, because that's also been attached to the rumor that WWE aren't sure of him, which I don't buy either. I think it's just kind of putting things out there to kind of confuse people, maybe even buy the WWE. But Seth Rollins is the kind of man that holds a title on a red carpet and promotes the crap out of that title. So that's what I think is probably likely, even if there are film things going on in the future. So if anything, WWE probably like that. If he does have to shoot off other commitments, fair enough. Putting it on first makes sense. But if there aren't other commitments and they put it on first, for me, it's a bad move, because we don't even have the other world title on this card. The least you can do when you're crowning a new world champion that everyone sees as a kind of, secondary title already and a consolation prize, the least you can do is make it headline the show. So what are your thoughts on it potentially opening the event?
Well, I mean, I'm very much in agreement with you there, Scott. I think it's about as good an idea as having Riddle replace Mustafa Ali. It would be unless they were going to put Trish and Becky on, main event, which I'm for, and and that would be a lovely progressive moment to show to show that Saudi are kind of taught, they've got some back to their bite. That's not the term, is it? They've got some bark to their bite, so to speak. And they are pushing this revolution. So that would be the only time I would put anything over AJ and Seth. There's also the tendency, I would imagine. There's also the tendency, the desire to perhaps put Roman on last in that tag team match. Now, the only thing I could think, and the more I think about that, just saying it out loud kind of fills me with a bit of dread there, because if that's what you've heard, because I haven't heard that, then they're probably going to put Roman and Solo and Sami and Kevin on last then.
Yeah.
Would you think?
I think so.
Yeah, because I hadn't heard that, and it just kind of filled me with dread when you mentioned it, because I was like, yeah, that's what they're going to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that, it's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. This is again, I love coming back to conversations you and I have had in the past on these streams, because the problem for Seth and AJ is that they are the workhorses of WWE, and they are now promoting a secondary championship, and we can't think of it as anything else. I want to think of it as the championship, because Roman, and once again, applaud Roman as the greatest heel in wrestling at the moment. I understand the appeal. I always have done. Roman is arguably one of the best, certainly one of the best of the last 10, 20 years, maybe all time in the future. But I'd much rather see Seth Rollins or AJ Styles week in, week out wrestle for and wrestle with a championship and make it mean something. You've got Gunther with the Intercontinental Championship right now, and as much as I wish Mustafa Ali was going to win, Mustafa, I believe, would give credibility to that championship too. But Gunther is the best Intercontinental Championship, I think, champion we've had in the last 10, 15 years. I think he brings real nostalgia to that, real credibility to that championship. Sami and Kevin, the same for the tag titles. There's real history between those two. And I always felt that was the same with the Usos. There was credibility to those tag team championships when they held them. And there's credibility to Roman's title, and there'll be credibility to this if Seth or AJ win. The problem then becomes, it's like a US championship. It's like an intercontinental championship, isn't it? Where credibility is one thing. All these champions are great, and I'm really excited about the people holding these titles. But what's the significance? Are we supposed to think that AJ Styles or Seth Rollins is on the same level as Roman Reigns? That's what I want to think. And personal opinion here, and this is going to make a lot of people angry, and I do apologize for that, because again, I respect Roman as a I wish I had his muscles and his lovely jawline. He is a born tailor-made superstar, but I'm a much bigger fan of AJ Styles and of Seth Rollins. I think they are wrestling fans, wrestlers. If you understand what I mean. Roman is like the chiseled, Greek god who is great at what he does. But AJ Styles is the workhorse. Seth Rollins is the workhorse, and I identify as a fan with that type of character. So I want to see that guy on top of the company. And but what we're looking at right now is potentially with Roman going out to Hollywood, we're looking at a part-time champion, and that's okay. I once again I get it. Seth's going off to film Captain America and everything like that. Is it Captain America? He's filming a Marvel film, isn't he?
Yeah, one of those Marvel things.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Congratulations, Seth, as well. But I think my problem is if we're not going to see Roman week in, week out, then we have to see Seth and AJ. Or Seth or AJ week in, week out. And that's what I want. But then when WrestleMania rolls around next year, what's the score then? What is Cody? Is Cody gonna? I'm getting ahead of myself. But I can't even, dude. I'm so tired. I can't even remember the crux of it. It's so good that we're doing this at this time because I'm full of energy, but I'm also really tired. It was a long ass day yesterday. What was the crux of your question again? It was the main event. For me, Seth Rollins is winning. It's the best choice. If he's going off to Hollywood to film, and it's a short-term thing, fine. But Seth is the best choice. From an entertainment standpoint, from a going on TV representing the company standpoint, absolutely. My heart wants AJ, but they're talking about AJ going into a feud with Killer Cross, Karrion Kross, which automatically pretty much spoils the match for me. So, I mean, that's my pick, man. What? I mean, I know I've kind of just waffled on for 10 minutes.
No, it's great, mate.
I do apologize. I'm very curious to see your, what. Okay, so what's your heart? Okay, yeah. What's your heart telling you, and what's your head telling you about this?
But as far as the result goes, Seth on both of those. In my opinion, it should be Seth because of the year he's had. It would be ironic if he ended up actually did having commitments and part-time champion and all that, because the whole point of this has been he's been here week in, week out and been an incredible performer and not had the reward for it, because they've got something else going on Roman. So I think it needs to be Seth. I think it should be Seth. It's not AJ's time. Doesn't mean I don't think AJ's ever going to win the title again. I just think it's not right now. Not a lot of time to do it, don't get me wrong. But I think it should be Seth. As far as it going on first, I think they are doing it. As people seem to be saying it even more online. I don't know if that's just a rumor kind of perpetuating the same thing itself, but or if we've got some sort of confirmation here. I've got the kickoff show in the background. They're kind of hyping this match at the moment, actually. But yeah, it can't open for me unless it's a legitimate reason, like he genuinely has to do leave early. But as I was saying to Sam earlier on, I think the fire's already given in Seth's stomach to make this an incredible match because of making this title mean something. If he is the one to win it. So if he genuinely is going on first and it doesn't need to leave and it is just a weird decision they're making themselves, then I think the fire's going to be, this could be one of the best matches of the year, regardless. You add those kind of things to it as well. But again, this is why it should be on last. And I really hope it is because we're crowning a new champion here. We already know, the perception of this title already isn't great. So they're kind of on a risky road if they put it on first, in my opinion. But the other argument to that is that something big could happen in the Bloodline situation where you can't have that on first. It might need to be closing the show in that sense. So it's a tough one. It just they might be backing themselves into the corner if they put it on first, basically. But I'm looking forward to the match itself, at least.
Oh man, me too, mate. Me too. Like I say, coming on here has made me more excited for this on the whole. Really, I'm particularly excited. Certainly more than I was yesterday in my ultra tiredness. But I think coming on here talking to you about it really does motivate me. But like I say, I would be concerned if they went with. I'm concerned for the future You know,
Yeah.
and you know, wrestling fans, we are ones to fantasy book, are we not? So I think I would be concerned for the future of that championship. If I was fantasy booking that title and it went on first, you know, I'd be like, okay, well, they've basically just given it the 24/7 title treatment. We might as well just have Reggie running around here with a trash can because they don't care about it. And the only argument you could give to that would be, of course, they put Brock and Seth on first at WrestleMania.
Yeah, so we mentioned that one earlier on as well, and like we were saying, like when there are two world titles, one of them's got to go on before the other, you know, and that's fine. There will be a time where this title needs to open, but it's not when it's the crowning moment of this brand new title, you know. But that's the frustrating thing about it. And hey, maybe we're getting ourselves worked up over nothing. Maybe it will go on last.
That's what we do, mate. It's what we do.
Yeah, that's the way of the wrestling fan. But yeah, we'll have to see. It's either way though, match. And just like with the Becky Lynch scenario, there's I don't know if you saw it, Don, but on Twitter, I think it was Seth that shared it. There was a still taken from a match that Seth and AJ had years ago, where at the end of the match, AJ said, "This guy's the future," and you know, it's nice to kind of see this roundup as well. You know, on the big stage for a brand new title. As much as we've downplayed its significance, only because WWE themselves, I feel like, have done that accidentally. I don't think on purpose, because I think they've booked the tournament quite well. I think they've tried to tell us it's important, but the actions kind of seep through. You know, what they really think by, you know, what they're doing as far as the way they book it and the reason we have the title in the first place. But still, another great moment for Seth Rollins and AJ Styles.
Absolutely. This is going to be, again, this is a wrestling fans wrestling dream match, Scott. Nothing less. You know what I mean? This is the type of stuff that indie fans would salivate over, that casual fans will salivate over, and that's why it's been put on this card, because you're talking to a seasoned wrestling fans, you're talking to casual wrestling fans that never watch the product. This is the one time of year where it's going to be a real mix of everybody, you know, and it'll be really interesting to see how they put that across.
So I've just got a thing sent over to me, thankfully for Dan. Of course, he was on the stream earlier on. He sent me over apparently per Fightful Select this report coming in, planned match order and producers. So we'll go through this here. Apparently opening up with the world title, as we just said there. Producer apparently is Abyss. Next up is said to be Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. Peter Williams, the agent. IC title next with Noble as the agent. Bianca versus Asuka with Adam Pearce. Rhea versus Natalia. No word on who the agent is. Cody Rhodes versus Brock with Michael Hayes as the agent. That makes sense. Putting that in that position makes sense for me. And then the tag titles being produced apparently by Michael Hayes and Jason Jordan. So it's kind of what we expect and somewhat what we kind of fear as far as the world titles significance. Running through the card and the match order there, is there anything that kind of stands out to you?
I mean, those are, you know, it's great to see so many TNA Impact guys getting their dues as agents now. You know, you've got Abyss and you've got Pete Williams there, you know, getting their dues as incredible performers as they are, you know, as they were in an Impact ring. Great to see them doing this work now for WWE and putting on class matches. It's a mistake. For you know, we've talked about that, Seth and AJ. I suppose they want to wet the whistle, so to speak, of the crowd, and that's fair enough. But I'm a little. I get the rest of it. But you know, again, the beginning and the end a little bit confusing there.
Yeah. It's if it was any other time, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. If it was already an established title, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, because the Bloodline storyline is still arguably the biggest one in wrestling today. So of course it kind of should go on last, but not at the expense of a new title, and that's the frustrating situation there. But the rest of the card itself, let's touch on a little bit of that as well. We got Cody Rhodes. We mentioned there, Cody Rhodes versus Brock apparently is the penultimate match here tonight as well. Do you see this as a squash? I think a lot of people are seeing this as a potential Cody Rhodes loss quite early on. They've protected him by giving him this broken arm. Frustrating to me because we've already done this storyline, and for me it kind of devalues the fact that we've already done it. But at the same time, I think it's a nice get a jail kind of free card for him, as far as they got away with the Brock one because Cody had to win the last one. I kind of feel like Brock has to win this one to not look stupid. So
they're taking this to SummerSlam or Money in the Bank.
So this is another thing I wanted to ask you, actually. Rob, in our predictions the other day, come up with the idea that maybe Cody is climbing the ladder for the briefcase and Brock costs him, and that stretches it out to SummerSlam. What do you think about that being a potential route?
That's not a bad shout at all. So totally, I'm with them on that booking. You've got to stretch this out for SummerSlam, Money in the Bank. This is a big feud. It's arguably next to the Roman bloodline stuff and the Usos and the potential friction there. I mean, it's probably the biggest feud they've got. Obviously Becky and Trish certainly not far behind that or equal to it. But yeah, I would say it's a big one for them, and they're going to want to stretch it out. Obviously SummerSlam needs that star power, as does Money in the Bank, and Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes fit that bill exceptionally well. So you have to have these big stars on these cards. So yeah. Absolutely with him on that booking, because I was a bit kind of, I was like, how are you going to get to SummerSlam with it? Because to me, it's a SummerSlam match more than it's a Money in the Bank match. Yeah. To me, it's a stipulation match more than just a third round of three on finishing at Money in the Bank. Although that is obviously a massive show as well. But yeah, very much so. Very much can see that happening for sure.
And the match itself, do you think it is as simple as a quick squash of Cody Rhodes?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. They've positioned it up. It's been positioned. It's foregone conclusion. The broken arm. What else are you going to do, right? What else are you going to do?
It would be quite incredible if they made him win. It would be a very strange decision.
Yeah, this is a 3 F5s and done job.
Yeah, landed on his arm each time as well.
Cody fights with one arm for a bit.
Yeah,
gets a couple of punches in. Brock picks him up, F5s him, picks him up again, F5s him again, and then a third one, and then we're good. I'd be surprised if this went longer than 5 minutes.
And it's weird that we're coming out there saying a squash match will actually be the right thing and it will protect Cody Rhodes. It's wild to say that, but that is the truth. I think it would be a good thing for Cody Rhodes to.
Cody needs to win it. Cody needs to win the feud in the whole. Cody wins at SummerSlam. Cody wins. The third match for sure. But yeah, no, this is it's painfully obvious, this one.
Yeah, I get so as you can see, scrolling through the bottom of our screen at the moment, you'll see that we're doing a watch along next. We don't usually do these, as I mentioned earlier on. It's a good opportunity for us being up at a reasonable time here in the UK to be able to do that. So please stick with us on this channel. But as I said, our buddy Dom over here, his channel is also going to be doing a watch along. So we'd appreciate if you tried your best to support us both, of course. But I want to give you an opportunity, Dom, to plug your stuff and let us know what's going on over there. Give me a whole year and your other endeavors as well.
Oh, bless you, mate. Yeah, thank you very much. And like I say, we live in a day and age where you can have 50 tabs open if you choose. You can have lots of things open doing things concurrently. So I would absolutely encourage you to stick here and absolutely stay here and support Scott and the team at Rebellious Noise. These guys do incredible work. If you want to dedicate an extra tab, which is just literally a click on the top of your bar there, you can go to Give Me a Whole Year's YouTube. I don't even, if we're silent and you've got Scott's voice, that's totally fine. Whatever works for you, just come and support us. Come and give us a wave. Come and check us out. Come and give us a like on the video and all that good stuff, because it does really help us out. But certainly, if you could just take a couple of extra seconds just to give us an extra window of your time, alongside, of course, staying here with Scott, that would be most wonderful. I'd very much appreciate it. We also have other projects like WrestleSphere. I was able to speak to Mustafa Ali heading into a Night of Champions for WrestleSphere. So please go and check that out. That's WrestleSphere. And that has wrestling content from WWE, AEW, and Impact Wrestling, as well as NWA. So a great source for wrestling interviews without the dirt sheet stuff. We just do exclusive interviews and things like that. So please do check it out. And thank you very much for your time and attention. Thank you for supporting Scott for the last 2 hours, 2 plus hours, nearly 3 hours. He's been with you. I've been washing my bits, and then I came on here. I washed my bits, put a shirt on, and then came on here. So honestly, I appreciate Scott's work ethic, and yeah, let's all have a good wrestling weekend, everyone.
Yeah. As we said, there's a lot going on. We were on Andy's channel last night previewing the whole kind of weekend as well. So if you do get a chance, Andy hasn't sadly been able to join us thus far because of I think some signal issues, but you can see his handle at the bottom there. Always appreciate him either way because he does contribute quite a bit to our build-up shows as well. Just like Dom, you can see his handle on the bottom there as well, and also Sam, also of Give Me a Whole Year in WrestleSphere, who thankfully spent quite a lot of time with me earlier on. Much appreciated there as well for that. And Dan, of course, from this parish, as they say, spending time with us on this build-up show. So before we do get out of here and go our own ways for our watch-alongs, Dom, what are you thinking as far as this show overall? What are you most looking forward to?
Man, I mean, you've got me hyped for it. You know, I wasn't as hyped until I came on here.
Appreciate it.
You know, and you know, seriously, I'm very excited for that AJ Seth match. It's going to be a barn burner, as JR would say. I'm you know, again, not just because I got to speak to him, but I am a huge Mustafa Ali fan. You know, in the same way that I was rooting for Drew to beat Roman, in the same way I was rooting for Sami to beat Roman. I know it's like 99.9% not going to happen, but I still want Mustafa Ali to win, and at the very least I want him to have the match of his life and really showcase what he can do, because he is an absolute standout, and I've been a fan for a very long time of Mustafa Ali. You know, I hope this is where he gets his just desserts, as they say. In terms of that tag match, it's an odd one. You know, I want to be pleasantly surprised, and I want, you know, one of the Usos to super kick Roman. If that happened, I'd be like, holy monkey! Or if Solo, you know, hit the Samoan spike on one of the Usos or something. Give me something in that match. Excuse me. There was a motorcyclist who clearly wants to get back for the wrestling.
Yeah.
I've got my window open, you see, because it's so sunny and
it's quite warm.
Such a normal time. But yeah, that's the big question mark, because I'm not a great fan. Like I say, I don't know why that's there. The Solo Roman, are they going to have him win the tag titles? You know what I mean? So that's the match that I'm like, okay, there's a big question mark there. What's that going to look like at the end of the night? So, but very excited, particularly for that AJ Seth match, particularly for, again, that battle of that 2K23 dream match between Trish and Becky. And yeah, most of all, Mustafa Ali and Gunther, I think it will be the match of the night. I hope it to be the match of the night.
But that's it. And we've already said AJ and Seth could be match of the year. So when you've got another one like that on the card, it really does start looking tasty. And I echo what you said about Ali as well. I think we know he's not gonna, but if the WWE do this quite well and certain talents can do it, and I think these are two that could do it, where for a split second I might go, maybe, and I want to feel that tonight. So I really do hope that is the case. So once again, thank you to everyone that's tuned in, enjoyed us live. We will be right back on this channel in a few moments as well. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and line up that next stream. Once again as well, thank you to Dom, to Sam earlier on, of course, Dan as well for joining us on the stream tonight. Really do hope you've enjoyed it. Dom says he's hyped up for the PLE thanks to this stream. So I hope you guys are as well, because I definitely am. And that's the point of doing these build-up shows. Once again, thank you so much for watching. We've been the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and we'll see you guys in a bit. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.